Aha.
Since its inception, whether that be speeches from the Empire.
We are Union through and through, all the way to the end.
I am Locutus, a Borg.
Or speeches that sound like they're in some kind of religious war. The writers and actors have already won the battle of solidarity and righteousness. The question now is how long before the studios get over themselves and make a deal. It's become clear that the AMTP cannot win the strike, so they should end it now to cut their losses. A disastrous summer. All of the PR comes from one direction. We're severely
Welcome to my channel.
We're starving to death.
Stream
we desperately
Elements.
Need more money.
Welcome to my channel.
The only thing that stands between us and
Welcome
food
to my
is
channel.
your greed. We even got them retweeting stories
Welcome
about
to
how
my
David
channel.
Zaslav was a Hollywood
Baby Lily.
anti-hero. And this all comes
Welcome
at a time
to my
where
channel.
the entertainment industry is at its lowest, producing things like Robin Hood. And you know they just saw the word Hood and ran with it. And yes, that's a Canadian production, but let's be honest, we've seen plenty of things that quality level already. With that in mind, you can understand why they took the cruel angle, rather than the we produce such great quality, we deserve to get paid more for our output. And you'll have to bear with me if I don't exactly believe these kind of stories. The majority of Americans support the writers. Gallup poll finds. Oh, I believe the poll found it. Whether it's an accurate representation of the American public, though, is an entirely different question. Especially when they say it's a whopping 72% are sympathetic to the strike. Although I can understand how that kind of thing happens. If you ask people, do you think they should get a pay rise? They're like, yeah, whatever.
But I guess it doesn't really matter.
But I think the question is it fair? Because the writers have had deals pitched at them and they weren't happy about them. They started calling it flawed
Welcome to my channel.
Pay your workers. They don't know what they want, they just know they want to get paid. Apparently they weren't before or something.
Union power! Union power!
How does it...
The studios keep saying that our...
Behold, a mere insult to the true power of the sculptor. We are the true servants of its whispers.
priority is to end the strike, and the writers keep saying, no, we're just kind of carry on doing it. You get to a point where you're like, well, why should we bother? If you've got a list of demands, and then at the bottom you've just gone, and I want world peace, and they agree to give you everything you want, but look, we can't give you world peace. World peace is impossible. You're like, no, it's world peace and nothing. Welcome to the world of a Hollywood writer. Because we got their pattern of demands. Increased compensation. Standardized compensation. Talks about mini rooms. Oh, look, we want compensation. Protection for television writers. Comedy writers get stuff. Increased residuals. Pensions, AI, and some other stuff. Now, they have already agreed some of it, and tends to be the weird stuff. For instance, late-night comedy writers got safeguards. Why? Out of every single piece of entertainment, late-night comedy has to be the ones that people miss the least. Surely. Was anybody even watching it in the first place? Even
Django, Django, Django.
back on our screens.
That's gaslight. That's what it is.
In fact, if there's one negative thing to come out of the strike, it is that. Turns out that Jimmy Kimmel was thinking of retirement before the writer's strike, and now actually I really enjoy working, we're going to come back. So that's another incredibly positive thing we've got the writers to thank for. And the thing is, despite all their religious warfare talk, the writers did get an offer, and it was an offer that did pay attention to their demands. It gave them new things in AI, data transparency, residuals. But there was a problem with it. The WGA just decided to cut it. We're not going to tell it to members, we're not going to give it to the press. This is radio silence. And so the studios came out themselves and decided to tell everybody about it. Whether it was a PR move or simply because they thought it was a genuine offer that the WGA members deserved to know in an attempt to make them fall out and lose support for the strike when they're like, look, we could have this stuff. What are you doing over there? And I have to say, when you go through it, it looks pretty good. The highest wage increase for the WGA in 35 years. A compounded 13% increase over 3 years. On top of that, a 15% increase in weekly rates. This would take a writer from $9,900 a week, basically, to $11,000, almost $400 a week, for guarantees of up to 9 weeks. And yes, it drops as you go up to 20 and 29, but you're still talking from 7.4k to 8.5k increase. If you're getting a pay rise of $1,100 a week over 29 weeks, how is your response to that they need to pay their workers?
Starvation wages.
Or as the LA Times put it, we recognize them for what they are, lowball offers, $11,000 a week. Residuals would increase from $72,000 to $87,000 per episode. And we'd have a new structure where showrunners would guarantee the length of employment and require at least 2 mid-level writers to be assigned to a production. This is something the WGA wanted because they wanted to train writers up, have them follow a production, so by the end, maybe they get promoted to different roles because they now have vastly more experience throughout the entire cycle, and leads to the next generation of creators. Great for everybody, but they're not happy that it was only 2. The WGA wanted minimum writing rooms of, like, I think it began at 6 and went up to like 12 people very quickly. It's just not how you run a business. And yet, as Variety reported, TV staff minimums remain the key sticking point, with some members grumbling nobody asked for this. Now, I did see this up on Twitter when it was just a load of WGA members underneath it going, no, I asked for this. It's like, of course you did. You want to keep your job.
Willow Ufgood here is terrified that one day he'll be discovered as the aging, talentless hack that he really is.
Whereas under this new structure, only the best writers will be able to keep a job in the first place. All the chaff and the talentless hacks, they'll just be yeeted out the door. So of course you want minimums. You want to be required to be on a staff writing force and just do nothing, except probably be a sensitivity reader and ruin the production. We understand why you want minimum writing rooms. I'm just surprised the WGA is willing to run it on for so long just to guarantee the jobs of some people that there isn't a place for. But they weren't the only pay increases. A new compensation structure. Writers will be guaranteed a minimum of 10 weeks employment for Article 14 writers. Week-to-week pay rise of 43.8% over the current rate. There will be landmark protections against AI, which is something the writers kept talking about all the time. I don't want to be scanned into a computer and used forever. I don't want to act out something that a computer has written with no soul. The studios even backed down on that, saying written material produced by AI will not be considered literary material. A writer will not be disadvantaged in any part of the script and will maintain all of their compensation. Now, of course, the unwritten part of this is because we are going to use AI, yes, the writers will be involved, writers will interact with the AI, but that AI is still replacing some of the writers, so we'll just need less of you. And honestly, doesn't that seem like a fair deal? We're using new technology to make ourselves more efficient, so we'll just keep the best writers on board and we'll pay them more money, significantly more money, but a lot of the lower tier writers will have to go. You know the ones. The ones who make things like Robin Hood.
I love that you never make any effort at all.
But with that in mind, you can understand why the WGA don't like it. Are their members going to accept an agreement where a significant portion of them get fired? Because I think when you're talking about minimum writing rooms, you've already moved way past reasonable requests. And if you're going to get fired at the end of it anyway, you're like, well, I might as well keep striking. Either way, I don't have a job. The studios even decided to give them increased transparency on viewership data, with the plan for that transparency to lead to further proposals of how to do it better in the future, because it is just hours per title, and quite frankly, that's not good enough. I do think if you're going to be transparent with the data, you should just publish the analytics. I'm sure you've already got them. If YouTube has analytics that allows us to see what happens on the videos, I'm sure all the streaming services have that as well. Just show it to them. What have you got to lose? What are you hiding from them, and why?
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
Is it because the numbers aren't very high? I'd love to know. But I do do think when you've had an offer giving you the highest wage increases for writers in 35 years, any more talk about what we're asking for is fair and reasonable, remember that, or lowball offers goes out the window. You can't call it a lowball offer when it's the biggest wage increase in 35 years.
I'm not really feeling it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are you using me as bait?
And if you are holding out just for minimum people in a writer's room, then if I were the studios, I'd just start hiring new people, because that is unacceptable. You cannot have a business that just voluntarily employs people it doesn't need and can't afford. That is a one-way path to bankruptcy. But have the studios already lost the strike? Now it's time to surrender. It even starts with, don't start a fight unless you're certain you can win it. The union started the fight, mate. They're the ones who went on strike. How are the studios ever going to be able to start a fight? But their only evidence that they've lost is apparently that we've got polls suggesting that Americans support the strike. It's like, okay, so whoever wins the strike has nothing to do with public opinion. It comes down to cold, hard cash and financial viability. But that is what they keep banging on about in the Times. That too backfired. We needed to hire a new PR firm. You know what would be best for PR? Ending the strikes. If you want a PR battle, you're already on the losing team, because nobody cares about the writers that have been destroying the entertainment industry for years. People would care about the writers if they were pumping out great entertainment.
Almost there.
There's a hot chick over there. I'm gonna go talk to it.
Sprinkle it on my bum and make my gentle winds smell like cinnamon.
Often said that Marvel movies all end the same way.
Mediocre at best.
Whereas at the moment, watching the strike unfold is far more entertaining than what you've actually been writing.
I'm not about to let a man take credit for a woman's work.
There was a lot of eating. There was a lot of food.
But they say that they rejected the proposal because it didn't offer meaningful concessions. Highest wage increase for writers in 35 years. If that's not good enough, I'd love to know what your number actually is. And they demand that television writing should be an economically sustainable profession. Pay increase from 9.8k to 11k a week. How much more economically sustainable do you want, mate? But they do get down to the cold reality, where they say everyone knew the streaming platforms broke the traditional business model. But then they say, did they think the WGA and SAG-AFTRA weren't going to rise up, teeth gnashing? I'm like, I don't know. Did they want a job? If your industry can barely cope because streaming isn't profitable, and you come in gnashing your teeth, what do you think will happen to you? Where do you think the money's coming from? Because you can talk about how there are great business minds, but what if the greatest business minds got together and realized that you're financially unviable and they need to cut back on you? Current wages are financially unviable, and AI is the only way to actually maintain the industry going forwards by utilizing AI with a smaller writing force in order to be far more efficient. You know, like every other industry has done in the last 100 years. The longer it goes on, they just seem more surprised. They never thought it'd be their industry that got hit by the AI. Oh, sure, as the automated cars and trucks came down the road, I'm sure they'd be ever so sorry when they got laid off. But never thought it was going to happen to them. And people are coming forward now and saying it's time to tear the streaming model down to the studs. Now, he does start talking about AI and says he's not really that concerned because he doesn't think an AI can replace writers just by swapping into them and then getting rewritten. He says that data transparency is the one that keeps him up at night, which, to be fair, they gave you. Now, he does say something I don't agree with when they ask him about streaming. It's like, the great thing about Stranger Things is it blows up. Yeah, a pure cash windfall, but there is a problem that as a streamer, you can't get more revenue streams because you're not selling it to anybody. But it goes, same goes for a TV show. You just can't really monetize your monster successes. And I'm like, you can. Surely merchandise is where that extra money's supposed to come from. I think the bigger question is, as you never know which show is going to be a success, how do you get that merch out there fast enough? Like when Squid Game was at its peak. That's when all the items needed to be in the stores. No one was going to predict that that popped off as much as it did. And that's just one revenue stream. I'm sure there's others. Maybe it'll involve you being a bit more creative. That is your job after all. But I think the idea that people will only watch it once and that's it just seems like that's not really a problem with streaming. That's just television. But it gets really interesting when he starts to talk about releasing a movie, saying it was an experiment to see if you could release a movie worldwide without spending $30 to $40 million, and no, you can't. But since that time, he's been working with HBO Max, and they ask him, did you see any data while you were working with them? No. He was just given adjectives like, we feel good about these numbers. The comps are right in line with what we were hoping for. But when people don't give you numbers, that's when it'd be suspicious. What have you got to hide? Oh sure, you feel good about these numbers, but what if it's just you had ice cream this morning and so are in a particularly happy mood? And then he drops it. There's two potential reasons why we're not getting the information. One is that they're making a lot more money than anybody knows, or that they're willing to tell us. The other is that they're making a lot less money than anybody knows. And they don't want Wall Street to look under the hood in any significant way because it'll crash the stock prices. My money's on door number 2. But what I do appreciate is his attitude that he'd rather work in a version of the business where he knows what's going on. Even if it means he has to make less money or take on more risk, he's still willing to bet on himself and take a bigger cut of the pie at the end because he's confident in the quality of his product. The WGA, which is asking for more upfront money and more residuals. So they get the best of both worlds, no risk at all. Bigger chunk of that benefit. The WGA's demands are insane, but this guy seems very sensible. This guy's approach is far more sensible. And he even says that could mean a drastic reduction in things getting made, which is coincidentally what Disney said they're doing. Bob Iger, reducing the number of titles we have and the cost per title. So it's getting cheaper than making less of them and hopefully making them higher quality. Although that's going to be hard unless they get rid of a load of staff. And he says if we tear this thing down to the studs and find out that the math is funky, it's going to be quite the transformation. And so his feeling is the sooner we do it, the better, because one way or another, it's going to have to get rebuilt, so you might as well start now. And it may just be me, but somebody who's going, this entire system might need to get rebuilt, doesn't exactly strike me as someone who believes that it's because the studios are making a lot more money than anybody knows, and they're willing to tell them. And yet that is exactly the idea that the WGA have been going off in the first place. Every single negotiation strategy. Starvation wages. You're making so much money.
7,000 or 8,000 an episode. Maybe that sounds great. Say I cobble together 2 or 3 guest stars a year.
So, it's not acceptable behavior. It is embarrassing.
All we want is a tiny cut of your massive money, and yet if they're not telling the numbers because the numbers are really low, can you imagine having all of your workers storm out because they think you're rich, and you just sitting there behind the big desk in the big office, knowing that your numbers go down every year, and they have the gall to ask for this? I'd be pissed, and it would explain the attitude seen at the start, that the writers and actors just have unrealistic expectations. I'd said it was very disturbing, because he'll know the numbers. He'll know just how badly his streaming service is doing. If he's disturbed, then it's no wonder that their stock has crashed through the floor over the last year. And I can't help seeing the writer's room a lot like this meme. There's a load of people working hard to get that product out the door, and then you've just got a load of writers on the top just sitting there eating it, doing none of the work. Those would be the people hired under the staff minimums that aren't required, weighing everybody else down who has to work harder just to lift your sorry arse off the ground. If I were you, I would have been very thankful with the offer that you got, because I'm not sure you're factoring in opportunity costs at this point, with the fact that with every week dragging on, you haven't earned any money that week. And so at this point, even if you get a more historic rise than 35 years, it's still not going to make up for the lost money during all of these months not working. At this point, you can't win, which is why I found this headline very funny. Because at this point, the WGA, whether they get pay rises or not, have defeated themselves. If they manage to pull it off and force Hollywood to hire people that they don't need, then they're doomed anyway, because those will be the writers who just aren't good enough and will drag the project down, producing bad entertainment, which makes no money, which makes the business lose money, which means inevitably more firings in the future. If you can't fight physics, you also can't fight economics. No, it's not looking good for the studios who are just cancelling series that have already finished filming at this point. And Disney wanted to cut even more content off their platform because it's worth more to them as a tax write-off, as a loss, than it is sitting on the platform where nobody's watching it because it's trash. Now, the longer this strike goes on, the more I think it goes into one simple thing. You're making trash, you have a job, and you decided to strike to get more money. And all you did is make the studios realize you were writing trash, give them force majeure, to give them the opportunity to get out of the terrible contracts that never should have been signed in the first place, after they realized the stuff is trash.
What you least expect that you're going to want to see is Thor going through a midlife crisis.
There were plenty of better times to strike in the past as a writer. The time to do it isn't when the industry is in free fall, their stocks are plummeting, they're all posting massive losses, and the economic downturn means that investors, they're not interested anymore. At that point, you decided you needed to get more money as you produced the lowest quality products that you've ever released. It's funny because in Wheel of Time, Rand worked in an insane asylum, but now it seems like to actually run this strike and to consider yourselves as winning it, that you're the ones that might be needing the padded room. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
concurrent players, user reviews, AMD, Nvidia. There's a whole bunch of things to talk about with Starfield now that the game has been out-ish in its early access over the weekend. I've put a good few hours in myself, so let's just jump right into it. Thing number one. It's actually performed some pretty damn stellar numbers, if you will. 245,000 peak players on Sunday on Steam after the early access launch. And that truly is impressive because that's all people who are paying additional money, right, above the normal cost of the game to play it that way. Yeah, a lot of people went for that upgrade. The prospect of just having a uninterrupted weekend of playing a new RPG is clearly something that a lot of people value very highly. Then we had 543,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch on the Thursday before launch, and that's actually quite impressive. This makes it the 42nd highest concurrent views on the platform for a game, but the thing that I would point out is this is actually the highest for a first-party title for a major console manufacturer, so that absolutely is showing that, like, yeah, this can be that big heavy hitter for Microsoft. Because again, all of this stuff is based on the game being only available in premium early access. I mean, even as of like this morning, 110,000 people. That's a lot. And as it went from Friday through to Sunday, you did see that peak number in Steam just slowly increase. It'll be fascinating then to see what happens when the big swell of people who just own the game normally or are picking it up through Game Pass actually get in. Now, because this is technically early access, it does mean that we do not have Steam user reviews to go off or anything like that. Because really, I normally say that right now we're looking at the people who are impatient and are hardcore. But those numbers are absolutely big, even for a game's straight-up full launch. So I wonder then, will all these people act as a bit of a beacon, kick off that strong network effect that will then cause more people to pile in over the coming weeks? And certainly I think Game Pass is a massive part of this. Personally, I have the game on Game Pass, and yes, I did get the premium upgrade. I wanted to put some hours in decently early so I could actually talk about the game properly with you guys. Here's what's really surprising though. So UK physical game sales are still something that are tracked, right? And if you look at them, the Starfield premium upgrade is actually at number 7 in the UK top 10. Now, who's getting the premium upgrade? I suppose people who bought the normal edition of the game and have become impatient, or people who, well, yeah, have Game Pass and want to get the premium so they can play it right now. So that absolutely is an impressive thing. And also, as VGC are reporting, there's really good numbers in the States as well. Overall then, by the numbers, this is pretty damn tremendous. I think this will be the largest first-party release that Microsoft have had. Will probably validate that acquisition of ZeniMax for them. But to go into the actual game itself, performance is something that we do have to talk about. I mean, from my perspective, if an Xbox Series S can run at a 1080-30, surely a Series X could do 1080-60 or something like that. I certainly do struggle with how the game's presentation is. I'll be honest with you. As much as whenever you're up close to things, the detail is really quite impressive, I will say that there is just that feeling of there being a Vaseline smear across the game. And oddly enough, one of the solutions that there could be to that is to put a little bit more Vaseline on, because technically their motion blur implementation is pretty good, but as many, including Digital Foundry, have pointed out, to quite a few players, they might actually want the option to put more of that motion blur in. Now, in the past, based on like my experience 10 years ago, I would say always turn that shit off, do not use it. Now though, modern implementations of motion blur are actually fairly good. By the way, if you're watching a film and it's projected at 24 frames per second, the reason why that motion actually looks okay to you is because when the camera is moving, right, whatever the shutter speed is at, you know, that is letting light in continuously, and that gives you this very natural motion blur. It just works. It makes sense to your brain. Now, that's why if I was to say shoot a film, right, and I was to play it back at, say, you know, 24 FPS, but if I was to set my shutter speed to be like, you know, a 200th of a second, you would be wondering why, you know, you can see every frame, and every frame looks, you know, perfectly still because the motion is being frozen. And to your eye, to your brain, that doesn't look right, because that's not how we perceive motion, you know, in real life. So kind of those implementations of motion blur. They're trying to mimic what a camera does to make a film sort of feel okay, and that all works with how our brain visually processes stuff. So there's been quite a lot of talk about 30 FPS. The 30 FPS on consoles, though, is, I will say, like a fairly solid one. After about 4 hours, I had adjusted to it, but certainly I felt that the combat experience was severely hampered by the 30 FPS option. I definitely would take less visual quality, lower draw distance, any of those things, if it meant I got that better frame rate. Now, as has been, I think, tradition lately, PC though, man, we're not looking so good on PC. It's a little bit more strange. Look, bugs-wise, there are still bugs. Comparatively, though, it's a very good situation, right, compared to the past Bethesda games. However, the FOV, I mean, man, the FOV, I really struggle with it in console, especially when you're indoors, you're playing FPS, you're at 30 frames a second, because that field of view is really tight. You know, it's kind of like you've got the blinkers on, and that means that motion is really exaggerated, and it can make combat feel like quite an overwhelming experience versus, say, being used to playing Battlefield at 144 hertz with, you know, like an FOV of 105 or some crazy shit. So, the good news is, there is no FOV slider, but there are mods to give you one, and of course, in traditional Bethesda fashion, there is an INI file that you can, you know, configure some of those settings at yourself. Looking at the actual benchmarks, though, things are definitely tricky. I mean, on ultra settings, good luck getting 60 FPS, especially if you're on NVIDIA. So, the lower end of cards are definitely suffering here, right? So there's that side of things. Mid-range cards, broadly managing if you're okay for like 1080 or maybe 1440p, but lower settings, right? You're kind of okay with you know, with the upscaling. Can you just brute force it with a 4090? The answer is yes, but you will not get the frames you think you should be able to get. I believe there were some bugs, at least initially, on the NVIDIA side. Now, for AMD, comparatively, AMD is doing fairly well. There was obviously a closer tie between the companies in development, which would mean there's a closer tie between the engineers working on this game and the engineers over at AMD. It's supposed to ensure that those drivers are in a good state and that the game itself, you know, will be well tested against AMD hardware. But I think one thing that we're absolutely seeing now is the crutch of upscaling. Right? There's a reason why we're now using DLSS and even dabbling with frame generation. It's because the raw raster performance, I mean, 4K Ultra with a 4090, which is basically a supercomputer inside your computer, you're looking at an average FPS of 68. But I would contend, you know, it's not the average you should care about, it's the 1% lows you should care about. Right? Because what you want is an amazing 60, and you are not even getting that. 24 gigabyte VRAM, 4090 sitting in there, 46 frames per second. For the 1% lows, as found by Gamers Nexus. The 7900 XTX 24 gig also sitting in there with broadly comparable performance. Now, you do then see the 7900 XT outperforming the 4080. So overall, what you're getting here is, yeah, this is a pretty damn hard game to run. To be honest with you, I do not think that this is I think that this is a well-presented game. I particularly enjoy the art direction of the game, especially how a lot of the lighting that they've handled from an artistic standpoint, a lot of how they've handled just like the little, you know, clutter objects. You know, normally in games when you walk up to a whiteboard and it's often just undiscernible gibberish. If you walk up to a whiteboard and you inspect it closely in this game, you will see the stuff those characters wrote, and it will look crisp. It will almost look like real life on your screen. So there's, you know, I don't know how well optimized that is, but there certainly is a lot of very well presented things in here. So it's hard to know exactly what the bottleneck, you know, could be with this game. It'll probably need some more detailed testing. Of course, what would be ideal is, you know, if you could get like a proper performance profiler, like, you know, what they'll have in their own game engine, then we could start to understand what parts of the presentation are, you know, are causing cards to struggle. Absolutely, though, once again, the PC gaming side of things is totally leaning on DLSS, FSR, frame generation technologies as well to try to get performance to where they want it to be. And I do think that kind of sucks, because as much as that tech is very impressive, yeah, quite a few of us can actually see artifacts. You know, DLSS 2, like, if it's on and it's set to like higher performance, you really can notice that. Now, one bit of good news is that AMD FSR 3 is going to be available to NVIDIA 20 and 30 series cards. Of course, those are cards that DLSS 3 is not available to. So I think the hope there for a lot of NVIDIA gamers, maybe with a 2800, maybe 2700, or even say like, a 3070, is that maybe they can get a little bit more light speed out with FSR 3 once that's something that they are able to use. And then, yes, as for the current state of NVIDIA, yeah, there have been problems. Also, for Intel Arc, pretty damn large problems. Intel saying that they are aware. Or broadly, look, Arc, when the drivers are good, they can actually be pretty good bang for the buck. The sad thing is we have seen some leaked stuff that perhaps suggests Intel are going to be scaling back their plans for Arc going forward, and I think that is a terrible shame because the more competition, the merrier. Right now, it is an unfair race between NVIDIA and AMD. It would be really nice if Intel were able to actually go and spook NVIDIA a bit. That said, they really will have to catch up because they did not release drivers ahead of Starfield. Yeah, ouch. Now, of course, it's a Bethesda game, and one of the things that comes along with that is modders fixing a lot of things, and this is where stuff is great. There are already 393 mods on the Nexus for Starfield. That's only 3 days after release. The number 1, 2, 4, 7, and 13 are all different types of performance enhancement. Rank 1 and 7 are options to replace FSR2 with DLSS or XESS, which I believe that's NVIDIA's one, right? And then the 6th option is an LD slider, which, of course, the INA file is fine. A lot nicer if that's a part of your in-game UI. And this truly is the power of things. I hope whatever way the Game Pass version is packaged, that I will be able to mod that on PC. I have to assume that'll be the case. But yeah, even things like skipping the launch logos. I mean, in a game with this many loading screens, hey, if I can get rid of the epilepsy warning so I can just get into the game, that's fine. Yeah, so modders once again absolutely doing the good work, and of course the saucy work, because yes, I did also notice that MXR, after like a year and a half, has came back to making mod videos, and I think we all know why, so that's all rather funny. Of course, the question then is, if modders can just give us DLSS like near immediately, why can the engineers on the team not do it? Look, this is a thing about focus. You have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and maybe hundreds of people who can just go and do that mod for the game. Whereas for the engineers, you actually you don't have a humongous number of engineers, to be real with you. The production team of this game is like 280 people. I don't know exactly how many graphics engineers there will be, but hey, let's just say you're a team of 20 people. Yeah, it might take a day or 2 days to get that in, or maybe it'll take like a day, but we'll have to go through a whole bunch of testing, certification, yada yada yada. Or maybe you'll have to rebuild the game to test it, or whatever it is. The people have already got tasks on their list, right? It's just one of those things. If you have free time and know how to implement DLSS, and you can just go and do it, that's fine. It's easy for you to do that because you don't have 50 other things crowding out your attention because you're managing the launch of a game. As we know, this is a game that, yes, does not have a Bethesda tier number of bugs, but it still does have bugs, so that's why those people on the team will, they'll have a whole bunch of tickets that they've got to deal with. We can't see that, but it does mean that to us, it's like, come on, dude, we just put DLSS in. It'll take no time. It's a little bit more complicated, but modders still are there to do it. As for when we play the game, I think, well, it's been interesting. One thing that I've enjoyed, and I haven't actually got into right now myself, is the shipbuilder. But of course, we've seen, Slave 1, Imperial Star Destroyers, Prometheus from Stargate, the UNSC Forward onto Dawn from Halo 3, Millennium Falcon, Normandy, Ebon Hawk, some Star Trek related stuff. Who knows? Maybe I'll try to make the Rocinante. Maybe I'll just try to make Battlestar Galactica. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe I'll make a Viper to zip around space in. Maybe that wouldn't be too practical. Anyhow, it's actually a pretty damn awesome creator. I was pretty surprised with what you can achieve with the character creator. Here is Todd Howard himself, and I don't know what I'm going to use for today's thumbnail, but I did grab that image, and I used an AI upscaler, so I've got this like HD fake gamer Todd, which maybe I'll use. Who knows? But there are criticisms that pop up, and let's just talk about the opening structure of the game first. So a lot of people are finding the first like 12 or so hours of the game to be quite problematic, and it's kind of the usual thing with the Bethesda game, where it's like, yes, do you go from being in a mining situation to fighting a bunch of pirates with your immediately acquired gun skills, to then joining a society? It's like, yeah, it all happens in an hour. To be honest with you, I get why it's kind of unfortunate. I didn't mind it too much. In the back of my head, I also know that people will make an alternate start mod for the game. Not that should be an excuse. Look, it's whatever. It's what I said in the title of my previous Starfield video. I just called it Starfield is a Bethesda game. And I knew, like, this title is loaded as hell and very factual. And it absolutely is the case. It is hitting most of the things that I would want from a game like this through the lens of, it's a Bethesda game, so you still do have all of those things that you would expect, right? Your opening can be a little bit, a little bit iffy. For a lot of people, the proc gen planets, those can be some repetition there. And I think that's one of the things that I would like to talk about, paired in with the structure of the game, in how with, it's like loading screens and stuff like that. It's not really a space game, and the feeling of travel isn't there. One of the things I think in Skyrim and Oblivion that really wowed people is like, oh wow, there's a mountain, I can go to it. And how do I go to it? I just go in a straight line and then glitch, jump up it, whatever. But that was the thing that was kind of mind-blowing to people. Whereas in Starfield, we have highly segmented play spaces. And I understand why. This is 64-bit, as I say, Star Citizen, but so Star Citizen, I know a lot of people, rightly are very critical and skeptical of it. I will say that a lot of the problems I've had to deal with in Star Citizen, like getting, a bunch of server persistence going, with having the insane scale of that game, and the fact that, you can seamlessly fly down to a planet, where you'll see a mixture of hand-authored and procedurally generated content, but, it has to be in a way where it's, like, consistently like that all the time. They're kind of doing the real deal, and that is tough. Whereas in Starfield, your whole land anywhere on a planet, it's going to feel a little bit more like, say, Shogun 2 Total War, where it's like, yep, I clicked battle, my character is here, over a river and a hill and a forest there, and it will, generate for you a map that broadly looks like that. So here, they're not doing the real deal. They're using a lot of procedural generated, proc gen tools to kind of give them bulk when they put their handcrafted stuff around that. But because the game is so segmented, where, you look at a planet, you'll have a few POIs that you can fly down to, but you don't actually fly down to them. You basically just hold the X button and teleport there. And this is problematic for, I think, a number of reasons. One of the things that is impressive to people in Star Citizen, and it's only happening in one space system, right? But it's the idea of, let's say, I'm here and I want to go to New Babbage. You'll leave, you'll set up your quantum drive, and you'll hit the go button. Might take you 10 minutes to get there. There you go, whoosh, going across space. But what's cool in Star Citizen is the way that it all feels real. Because you're sitting there in your cockpit, in your little, quantum drive, whatever the hell it's called. You can press a button, get up, and walk around your ship while your ship is still going that way. Someone can interdict you. You can shoot them down or whatever. You can then open up your ship, fly out of it in your spacesuit, and go into the other person's ship. And it all literally happens. Whereas in a game like Starfield, you shoot a ship until its engines go down, you go near it, and you hold the dock button, then you get a weird canned animation, and then, you pop into it like it's a little mini dungeon. The reason why Star Citizen, to the people, and if you want to know why people have thrown so much money at that game, it's these sort of things I'm saying to you now, that even through all the problems, there's this level of scale and authenticity that they really enjoy. I suppose a level of simulation. And for a lot of people, that makes the space experience feel real. Also, look at a game like Elite Dangerous, where to many people that's grindy and tedious. To many other people, they're like, well, I want American space truck, or American trucker, but, in space, right? Starfield, though, it ain't that. So as an example, let's say you are in your constellation little secret society lodge, which looks lovely, by the way. Man, I love the decor of that place. Love the design elements. Anyhow, it'll be a loading screen to leave that, and then you'll go to your ship, loading screen to go into your ship. You want to take off, loading screen to take off, to go somewhere else, loading screen to go there, look at the planet, loading screen to go there. Or you could bypass all of those loading screens by just, you're sitting there in the lodge, you bring up your, maybe your quest list, go to an objective, you hold the X button, it immediately plots a course there, shows it to you in your galaxy map, and then you hit the button, and then you're there. It skipped all those loading screens and all those steps. But that's kind of a problem, isn't it? Because space now feels tiny, because you're basically teleporting between little volumes of play, right? You're just teleporting and zooming about the place. And to a lot of people, that does break that level of immersion that was present in prior Bethesda games. Certainly if you played the game in past games in PC, and you maybe use some of the mods that made realms seamless. So you actually, if you were to go into Whiterun, say, you would not have a loading screen. You could just go into it and it would be there. That's one of the things modders didn't do on PC. Whereas, a lot of those things that to me sort of feel like a bit of engine limitations, but also them choosing constraints. Because this is a game that swole to its full production size in 2020. It's now delivered in 2023. So evidently, it's one of those situations where, they say, right, we are going to take all of these downsides, knowing that players will identify those downsides. And what we purchase for the price of those downsides is our ability to make the game and ship it in the way that we think we can, which is how we now have this game. Where even though in so many ways, the Starfield itself feels smaller. Skyrim was small, but it felt big. Starfield is very big, and it feels small. But once you go past maybe the first 12 hours, sort of starts to dawn on you just how much authored content there is in the game. That, I think, is where this game starts to appeal more for people. I think that's especially because quite a lot of the side content is actually interesting. The game's lore is actually interesting. As Gene Park, I believe, forgot what outlet he writes for, but he said, like, wow, I got to New Game Plus, and this is like near level of New Game Plus implementation. So there's a lot to love. There's a lot of quality in this game, but the load screenitis, that is rough. It is rough because it breaks up your experience, and it's rough because, as an example, if you're playing the Spider-Man games in PS5, when you want to fast travel somewhere, you're there. Bam, you're there. Instant. It feels amazing. We've just got used to these amazing load times. And now that's not something we're getting. Then, of course, you've got No Man's Sky. I've seen a lot of people saying, yo, No Man's Sky did this shit 7 years ago. How did they not do it? How did those fools at Bethesda not do it? And you see, the thing there is, they're making this with their set of pipelines, tools, technologies, etc. that led to them having the creation engine, being able to make these games with lots of handmade content. If you look at No Man's Sky, yeah, No Man's Sky did this 7 years ago. How good was the launch of No Man's Sky? Because they didn't have the content. They did have the procedural generation. They did have the seamless flying about the place, and that's all very impressive. It's very, very impressive indeed. It's like the wet dream version of what my final year, programming course was, or at least the project that I chose for that, which was terrain generation that I applied to little planetoids. It was all very fun, and looking back on it, man, what a terrible implementation I had. Anyhow, they did that, but they didn't have the content, and all the procedural planets just slowly smooshed into one and felt all the same. Whereas that's not the case in Starfield, right? So just because No Man's Sky did it does not mean that Bethesda should be able to do it. It's quite interesting because do you know what this game is? And people have talked about how the Starfield is Skyrim meets Mass Effect, and they have no idea how on the money they are, because Mass Effect Andromeda in its early versions was supposed to be a similar situation with all of the procedurally generated planets, essentially a hyper-ambitious version of the planetary exploration of Mass Effect 1. That ended up not playing nice with the Frostbite engine. They had to humongously cut the scope down to being the few planets that we got. And I think it comes down to like what you would personally like. For me, I would actually prefer a far smaller number of star systems, right? And more detail in the ones that are there with a higher degree of simulation. But this is the direction that they went in, and this is how they made it with the tools that they had. at the end of the day, if they had to massively rework those tools, you know, develop new core, you know, modules of their engine from the ground up, then this game would be a very long way off. It would not be out now, because those things would bottleneck full production. Because you try to do all that shit at once, it goes completely awry, as we saw with Mass Effect Andromeda. Whereas right now, you know, they made this game, and they will be able to merrily hop along to the Elder Scrolls 6. So, in a way, it is what it is, but absolutely when I say Starfield is a Bethesda game, yeah, that, warts and all. Actually, Bethesda games are games that many of us love, warts and all. And as for the true power of Starfield, to cap things off, it did in fact save a Redditor and their family. Titty Killer, I think that's how you pronounce, or no, Tidy Killer, there, that's far better. They basically were staying up all night to play Starfield, but that actually meant that he was awake at 2 a.m. to hear his downstairs neighbor's apartment catch fire. It then spread up to his apartment while his family was asleep, and thankfully, because this person was up late, there you go. They were able to get people out. So not only does Todd Howard bring us video games, he also saves lives. That's a joke. This person did the life saving. It's very good. I've had a similar situation. One night I was here, you know, eating Domino's pizza, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I think, in the office. And I look outside and I'm like, huh, normally the sky's not orange. So I look out the window and there's a humongous fire plume, you know, arcing up, you know, like 5, 6, 7, 8 meters, really, really tall. You'll know about bonfires in Northern Ireland, so a whole bunch of bonfire materials were laid up against a fence, and yeah, they caught fire. And I won't say any more just so I don't sort of identify the office, but oh boy, glad I was able to call the fire service when that happened, and you know, landlord's building wasn't destroyed along with all of our things in it. Quite something. So yeah, there you go. If you need an excuse for why you are staying up too late playing video games, just say it's Firewatch. So there you go, Starfield. I need to put more hours into it, frankly. I do look forward, though, likely in an upcoming Roundup episode, we will be able to talk about the Steam review, how that's shaking out, and what sort of concurrency numbers we see once the game has got general availability. Because very much it won't be, you know, all the people who bought early access, they'll buy that in day 1, or maybe day 2 because of peer pressure. But you're not going to buy early access to Starfield like 2 days away from proper launch. That would be a very silly waste of money. So the fact that these concurrency numbers are so strong and continually are really holding, like, that's from a cohort of players who bought in at early access launch. So I think that does prime us for a big, big killer swell of players. So overall then, hey, congratulations to Todd Howard and the team. It is nice to see them return to their core competency in making, you know, these big RPGs. There is that era with Fallout 76 and everything, but as we know, the likes of Redfall from Arcane Austin, a lot of that did come from ZeniMac's top brass. Well, here they are, able to really do their core good thing. You know, good thing again, and I hope they ship a performance mode for the Series X, and I cannot wait to see what modders develop, because see a lot of these issues players have got with loading screens. I've got to wonder, will modders be able to deal with some of that? Because they were able to remove the load screens between some, you know, like just going into a town in some of the other, you know, like the Elder Scrolls games. They were able to do that. And I just wonder, with the creation tools, what is there for space combat? What is there to give people that feeling of space instead of being a sort of intergalactic, or sorry, not intergalactic, you know, an interplanetary teleporter, which is kind of what it feels like now with how liberal the fast travel system is. All fascinating then. Let me know, what are your thoughts and experiences? Of course, stay tuned to the channel. We will have plenty of coverage as the weeks go on. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.
there. Brother.
How's that? Huh? What do you say? He ain't so tough. Yeah, he ain't so bad.
Oh, bag's full. I've got enough of that.
Where Oprah's $10 million donation is really from?
And we're so concerned with what's happening in Maui, we thought we'd ask you to do something about it. You being other billionaires? No, just like regular normal people. Right, okay, but you're giving 10 million. Well, we've committed to giving 10 million. What does that mean? Well, we haven't actually given it yet, but we're committed to giving it. Sorry, what was that? We're committed to giving the 10 million in your donations. What did you say at the end there? We'd like you to donate, and that's how we'll get to the 10 million. I thought that you already pledged the 10 million.
Ooh, pledged. I've heard this before.
Committed that on behalf of you? So you haven't given 10 million and you've just set a goal of raising it. Well, so you've committed other people's money to your own charity you just set up. With disasters like this, the number one need is money. Yes.
And she didn't become a multi-billionaire by giving away $10 million. Like, if you do that every time something bad happens, well, she'd probably be a multi-billionaire. But the number wouldn't be as high.
Billion is 1,000 million. And you have multiple billion. Yes?
Yeah.
And you also own 2,000 acres in Maui. Don't you have both the means and the moral obligation to help the community?
Why does she own 2,000 acres in Hawaii? Why not? True, bro. True, bro. Ball out. Yep. Real shit.
Don't you have both the means and the moral obligation to help the community you live in?
Well, she don't live in there.
Hello? Oprah? Guys, I think she's Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, okay. She also had private firefighters on her land before the fire started. Bro, I don't know. Like, I don't... This is my opinion, is that I don't think that we should shit on billionaires for not putting their money towards fixing public problems. I think that all of this frustration should go to the government, because the government are the ones that are supposed to solve these problems. However much money you think a billionaire has, the government has 100x that and 10 million x the resources. Both what the fuck? I mean, like, you can do that all you want, but there's one group that's accountable to you and one group that's not. Some random ass fucking billionaire isn't accountable to you. What are you gonna do, cry about it? What are you doing with that? What the fuck are you wasting your time for? Getting mad at some random ass person that they're not jumping on a white horse and coming to rescue you from a problem that they didn't even have anything to do with. It's not like Oprah started the fucking fire. Like, she's just there. Like, it's not her responsibility to do this. She doesn't have any fucking reason to do that. It's the government that needs to fix the problem, because the government is the one that is responsible for the safety of the public. Oh Oh my God, how are people so fucking dumb? People love to circle jerk and fucking sit around and talk about how bad these rich people are. Well, what the fuck? Like, they don't, that's not, like, think about how much more rich the government is. Get mad about the government. That's all there is, man. If Oprah can ask us for money, I can ask the girl. Nah, bro, Oprah asking people for money and do it, that's some fucking stupid ass shit. Like, it's stupid, Oprah's dumb for doing it, and it's cringe as fuck. But she doesn't have a, like, obligation to give them money. Get the fuck out of here, the government does. Yeah, that's it. These rich people subvert the government and largely control it, so it's kind of on them. Rich people subvert the government and control the government? Really? Well, they subvert you. That's why you keep voting for them. So why don't you wake the fuck up? And so you're advocating for more regulations, good guys, right? More regulations? What are you talking about? I'm advocating is if there's a natural disaster, the government should be responsible for the people. Yeah, I know, I'm this crazy fucking fascist, right? Jesus Christ. Where the fuck do some people come from? Get back in your padded room. Put your straitjacket back on. Yeah, get rid of that keyboard. You don't need that. Please. Wait, I'm agreeing with you? Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure, true. You say all this, you've been a millionaire since you were 5 years old? Damn, that's crazy. I didn't know that. I just think that people, like, I think people care more about feeling, like, I think people care more about feeling righteous indignation for thinking that something is unfair and then getting mad at somebody more than actually solving a problem. Like, I don't think a lot of the people actually care about solving the problem. They just care about looking at a person that they don't like or a group of people that they don't like and saying, hey, you know, this problem could be maybe made better by this group of people, so let's shit on them for that reason. I think it's stupid. Defending a billionaire is an L-tag? I don't think people should be treated differently because of the amount of money they have. Yeah, I don't think that they should. Why the fuck not? Because everybody should be treated equally. It'll never happen. Well, it doesn't give you an excuse to just make up bullshit to get mad at people. Why such a lame take? They only make money off the blood and sweat of poor people. How's that being treated equally? So like, because they, so what do you mean? Because they make money off of other people, it's not equal? Well, nobody is really equal, but I think people should not be expected, like, you can't really go and expect somebody to go out of their way to do something just because they have a lot of money. It's like the entitlement that some people have is just astronomical. It's mind-boggling that people have this level of entitlement that they think that they can go into somebody else's life, into somebody else's house, and tell them, actually, no, I have the moral authority to tell you what you should do with your money. Get the fuck out of here. It's such a weird thing to say. Tax them? Yeah, tax them. You want to tax them? Go ahead. But taxing them does exactly what I said. It makes it the government's responsibility, just like I said from the fucking beginning. So you're saying I'm right. Don't want to defend a billionaire, but isn't my responsibility to believe in you? I don't think that you should look at people categorically like that. I think that's a very dangerous way of thinking, and it's not productive, it's not healthy, and all it does is dehumanize individuals, and it creates ideological forms of thinking that do not solve problems. Categorizing and then removing certain privileges or expectations, or assigning extra privileges and expectations to groups of people because you view them as being bad is bad. How did that acquire that wealth there? You're so close. They acquire that wealth by doing something that other people willfully agree to. Like, Oprah didn't go, like, it's not like Oprah had slaves make her show. She's not making people watch the show. People watch the show because they want to watch the show. She earned that fucking money. What are you talking about? Yeah, Oprah's not stealing. She didn't steal the fucking money. Get out of here. It's so weird. Anyone defending the stake isn't class conscious? That's all people are, is class conscious. They think that that's what their whole life is about. And I get that. Like, I've been in that position too. But just because you're in a certain position doesn't mean that you just get to write and invent new rules for people based off of your own arbitrary criteria and then get angry at other people because they don't want to play along. Yeah, she did a lot of horrific shit, bro. Oprah did a lot of horrific shit. Okay. She skinned people alive. She killed my family. She ate babies. She's not real. She's a lizard. War crimes? Oh man. Hey yo, Oprah, like, I actually, you know what? I don't know if I like her anymore. People without money are always trying to police what rich people do with theirs for some reason. Yeah, of course, because it's all about having a moral high ground. That's all it is. For 95% of the population, their economic class is literally the most important part of their existence. Oh, I bet it is. It definitely is. But just because it's the most important part of your existence doesn't give you the right to hate other people for not being in the same position that you are. That's like such a negative, toxic mindset. And like, I cannot imagine a person that has that mindset ever being successful in anything. It's like, you can have a mindset, like, that's whatever, but like, just don't expect other people to like bend down and fucking pat you on the back because you hate people because they have something you don't have. Why would you categorize it as hate? Because you are taking a group of people and then you are shitting on them because they are not doing something that they are obligated to do. And I also think that it does a tremendous disservice to actual accountability. Because the government is the one that should be accountable. However many billions the government, or sorry, Oprah has, that's nothing compared to what the government has. The government has all the resources, they have all the power, they have all the infrastructure, they have everything. And so, whenever you go and you get mad and you're wasting your energy complaining about why Oprah isn't taking her own personal money and fixing a problem that she didn't even cause, what you're doing is you're filling up space and creating noise around the people that are taking everybody's fucking money and not fixing the problems. I absolutely hate billionaires and other CEOs for being greedy fucks and suppressing wages whenever they make record money. Okay, then do something about it. Go do something about it. Go change the law. Go get together with other people and change the law. You can do that. No way, you can. Yeah, that's actually what you can do. Isn't it crazy? Because that's so easy? Okay, well yeah, no, I know it's hard for you to do that, so it's easier for you to like instead just sit on the internet in a chat room and then complain about it. Well, I know it's way easier for you, and that's why you're in the position you're in. That's the whole point. You cry and complain and do nothing, and then nothing ever changes. Yeah, of course it's hard to do. No fucking shit. Like, there's never been a time in history where there's ever been, like, a big societal change that did not come with a tremendous amount of friction. Should we ask people when they're literally 1,000 listener to donate their money because people are going to get mad at that? Yeah, I think that's stupid. I just don't think that she's got any responsibility to spend the money. Yeah, I think that is stupid. We're already past that. Crazy how people actually have power, but we'd rather sit around and talk about nothing? Yeah, of course. Because the reason why people don't want to acknowledge that they have power is because if they acknowledge that they have power, then they also acknowledge that they're not using it because they're not, like, causing anything to happen. They're not changing anything. Most people, at least, right? Like, most people, their idea of activism is liking a tweet. Like, that's about as far as they go. And so, like, these people, like, they get angry that somebody else isn't picking up their cross and fucking carrying it. They want everybody else to go and carry their fucking cross while they sit around on the internet and act morally superior because they complain about the same things. So dismissive of their issue, just assume poor people can change laws by voting in a broken system. Whenever the system is controlled and rigged by trillions of dollars, so gross. Go tell that to somebody in China or Russia. Go tell them that elections don't matter. Go ahead. Go to fucking China and say that you're Russia, that like, oh yeah, no, we everything's rigged and we don't have any power. Get the fuck out of here. I live in China. Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know what that really feels like. Just invent a reality whenever there's actual instances and cases of people that genuinely don't have power in the world, and it doesn't look anything like the United States. Nice straw man. No, it's a fact. It's a fact. It's in reality. Causing has to change your own life. Yeah, exactly. Just because it's bad in China doesn't mean the U.S. is a shithole. Bro, you think that being able to have the freedom to vote for what you want is being in the shithole? This is one of the best places in the world to be able to actually vote for shit that you want. You are insane. So your stance is fuck poor people correct because they could just easily become a millionaire if they tried? Bro, you're too emotionally attached to this argument. You're getting in your feelings. What are you getting in your feelings for, bro? It's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with poor people. You're thinking with your emotions. Think logically. It's weird. I'll talk about this for like 5 more minutes, and we're gonna look at some of this other shit. Watch the Godzilla thing. Yeah, I heard about that. Happy to speak. Your nice topics are hot. Get people into trouble. I don't care. Like, there's nothing wrong with what I'm saying. I know I'm right. I know I'm not saying anything wrong. It's common sense. And at the end of the day, here's the thing. People are gonna cry and they're gonna get mad at what I say, and they're gonna go to bed and wake up the next day and nothing's gonna fucking change. That's what it is. And so, like, how should I feel bad because people are mad at me whenever they're the ones that have to live the fucking life? The turning point in society, woke opinions have flipped the narrative, start catering to people's feelings too much, it took it too far. It's not about woke shit at all. It's just about people trying to find an excuse for why their life isn't their fault. People try to always find a reason why somehow the position that I'm in is some other person's fault. And you know what? It probably is to some extent. But there's nothing that you can do about it, and it's not going to change. So all you do is cry about this and get pissed off and try to get angry about people on the internet typing up shit in caps lock like anybody gives a fuck what you're even saying. It's like you're typing out like 2 paragraphs in a chat room that goes like this, bro. Like, you think you're doing anything with your fucking life? You're wasting your time. You're wasting your life. You're not gonna do anything doing this, crying about this shit. I'm sorry, guys, but it is pathetic. What's the reason you address these people here instead of your main? Well, I haven't been on my main at all. I talk about this shit on my main all the time. Yeah, you're trying to give knowledge to people that don't want to get better? No, of course not. They don't want to get better. You haven't earned a single thing in your life, looking at their life. There are people who have nothing. I've given you everything for you to say that. Bro, it's not about earning things. Like, what do you give a fuck about earning something for? Like, that's the total, like, what? That's the wrong mindset to have. About, like, earning and deserving things. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you deserving and earning things? Like, what kind of a world do you think you fucking live in? Earning things. Just, oh, well, I worked really hard on this. I deserve it. Oh, I deserve this. I earned this. Well, it doesn't matter if somebody can take it away from you, can it? It's just such a fucking childish opinion. You don't own shit if somebody can take it away from you. The only thing we're entitled to is death. Yeah, and taxes, apparently, right? You must be a huge fan of quota-based affirmative action, then? What the fuck does that have to do with it? You trying to change the perspective? So I'll talk about your hobby horse social issue. You want me to talk about your social issue instead? Is that it? Problem with billionaires, they have strong connections with the government. Some of them have so much influence in decisions. That's why most people don't like them. It's unhealthy worrying about things you can't change. I think, you know what I fucking think? I think that the billionaires do have a ton of control. And I think that a lot of the people are so fucking stupid that these billionaires can just play mind games with them. And then every fucking 2 or 4 years, they put 2 dumb fucks against each other to convince poor people that they're voting against the bad guys, but they're just voting against another bad guy. Or voting for another bad guy. This is what happens every fucking time. Because most people are fucking stupid, and they're gonna... most people... Here, I'll give you a very, very... this is my perspective of people, okay? Is that whenever I used to do guild decisions, if I wanted to do something that was against people's best interest and in my favor instead, you know what I would do? Is I would put it to a vote. Because you can always rely on stupid people to vote against their own self-interest. It always happens. People are so easy to take advantage of and manipulate. And because of that, that's why we keep having this problem. And it's not going to change. So you can cry and get mad about it all you want. It's not going to matter. The only thing you can do, solve the problems yourself. You have to admit you're a bit of a wealthy nihilist. What's this here? The position you're coming from is a very interesting one. Bro, if you go back 10 years ago and you look at the stuff that I said 10 years ago, guess what it was? It was the same stuff. I said the exact same thing. I've been saying the same thing for the whole time. Mentality is why revolutions happen. Eventually poor people get fed up with being blamed for problems that have been orchestrated by rich people. No, they don't. They just start a war, send a bunch of the poor people off, kill them, and then that's it. Or they pay half the poor people to kill the other half of the poor people, and then the problem solves itself. No, it's not going to happen. You jerk yourself off with that opinion all you want. It's not reality. Same as it ever was. Yep, there it is. Same as it ever was. You can only deal with yourself. You can only solve your own problems. I'm not talking about war started by rich people. I'm talking about governmental overthrowing. How do you think they stop the governmental overthrows? They create secondary problems that unite people against it so it distracts them from internal issues. No fucking shit. Wouldn't that be what you'd do if you were in charge? I mean, that's what I would do. That'd be smart. Last question, if people are so stupid and easy to manipulate, what kind of power do we have against billionaires who have near unlimited influence? You have infinite power over your own situation. Well, not infinite, but you have a lot of power over your own situation. And at the end of the day, there are a lot of things in life that I think should not be the way they are, but you have absolute power over your own situation. You can decide what you want to do. You can decide what you don't want to do. No, you don't. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You don't have, you can't be a walrus. There are limitations. You can't be a walrus. You can't be a tree. You can't be a stop sign. There are some things that you can't be. Can't be an attack helicopter. That's it. But other than that, you can do what you want to do. You can teach yourself. There are resources on the internet that will allow you to teach yourself almost anything in the whole world. People now have more resources to be successful, in my opinion, than any other time in history. I think success is more of a meritocracy, much more now than it ever has been in the past. I think living in today's day and age is the best time to ever be alive in human history, and it is continuing to get better. Literal golden age. Yeah, exactly. There's Harvard lectures uploaded to YouTube, literally. Yeah, and people say they can't figure out what to do. And it's not that they can't figure out what to do. They're worried that, like, there's not somebody that's telling them what to do. And being like, oh, well, you know, like, I'm just gonna, like, make everything super easy for you. Yeah, you're right. You just said nobody deserves anything. Do you or do you not believe in meritocracy? So much contradiction. People only deserve what they can take, and I think that the fixation on whether you deserve something or not is unhealthy. Because either you have something or you don't. And meritocracy is always going to be, to some degree, not real. Because everybody enters into a competition with different, like, benefits and advantages, right? So it's never really meritocracy, but it's something that's closer to that than, let's say, whenever the king appoints his cousin as the general of the war, right? And so that's really the difference. So things are better, but it's not a complete clean meritocracy. And I think people have more opportunity now than ever before. Upward movement in the U.S. is best in the world. I don't know if it's the best in the world. I have no knowledge on that. People get too numb to being able to access near anything that they horseshoe around feeling like they have nothing. Well, the reason why is because that, again, everything that people do, my opinion, right, is that everything that people do usually has some sort of reason to, like, reaffirm their own life. You know, a lot of opinions that people have, most people don't hold opinions that paint themselves in a bad light. So most people's opinions and values, might makes right, doesn't equal meritocracy. Yeah, it doesn't, you're right, but it's not about might makes right or anything like that. It's about just making it work for yourself. And you have more autonomy to do that than any other time. And that's what I'm saying. Life expectancy is lowering in the US, but it's the best time ever. Please explain this to me. Life expectancy is lowering? I don't know why that's happening. I don't know anything about medical stuff or chemistry. I don't care about it at all. I have no interest in it, so I can't even begin to explain it. Yeah, people, I mean, is it because people are fat? Like, I mean, that's what I would assume, but like, I don't know. Life expectancy and middle class wealth are dropping? Oh yeah, that's been happening for like 10 years. Probably longer than that. But yeah, anyway, I just think people always, you know, they try to, they get too focused and too angry and indignant and feeling good about shitting on somebody that's not them, you know. And, it's just, it's pointless. It's pointless. It goes nowhere. It does nothing. There's no positive outcome to it. It's just a waste of time.
Alas, songs are not song of
People are addicted to cathartic rage on the internet. Yes, they are. And trying to like argue and like all this, like it's like a little fucking. Oh no, this isn't true. It's actually not my fault. Like what are you doing with your fucking life? Getting mad about this shit. It's so sad. From a perspective, most people will not want to listen. No, they never do. They never do. But the funny thing to me is that. The funny thing to me is that it doesn't matter how mad people get. It's still true.
The great wolf, the Ravager, decimated our people.
It doesn't make a difference how many like arguments and essays they type up about why it's actually not bad that they're spending all day on Reddit, and like how like, well, you know, whenever they were growing up there were like these bad things that happened to them, and it's like because it really just doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. Like like nobody cares. It's not going to change anything. Like the world's not going to conform and move around this. That's it.
Hello, beta testers.
So, this dude is angry people are modding girls to be prettier in a virtual game that they own. What business is it of theirs? Who knows? But these types sit around looking for things to be triggered by. This is the same person, by the way, who was mad about an optional alternate skin in the virtual game Street Fighter. Cammy was just too much for these ugly, demanding weirdos. This is the same person, by the way, who was mad about Megan Fox making the choice as an adult to flaunt what she's put hard work into and appear in commercials for Diablo. But, Kyle, who cares, I hear you say? This person is clearly inflicting the Cruciatus curse on themselves. This entity, unfortunately, is indicative of the types in the gaming industry that are deliberately doing what some people did to comics and some people did to movies. So I'm gonna go ahead and stand up for what I believe in. In the beginning of the movie Jennifer's Body, Jennifer is taken advantage of, and the real-life actress Megan Fox, who depicts her, has articulated past experiences that might have left some women broken, damaged, a quivering mess, doomed to a life figuratively in the fetal position, but not Megan. In the face of the filthy kind of men that would only ever see her for her age, body parts, and how fast they can get off with her, Megan Fox decided to do just as much acting off-screen as on, and at least pretending to tolerate the asswipe she's forced to rub shoulders with on a daily basis. Just like us. It takes strength, it takes effort, and it takes patience. Megan Fox could be in a cocoon of woke for all I know or care. She's not so anti-fun that she's deliberately reducing her appeal by fully covering herself up to what, deny or spite all men? Because anybody with a shred of social sense can tell you that you're robbing the women who love a good look, too. Some women understand that patience is a virtue, and if you do as the woke have done, you will be rejected. You never go full Rachel Zegler. These women are easy on the eyes, driven, strong, femme fatales. I want to see these people. They're having and have had a cultural impact that people appreciate. They will be missed when they're gone. They are establishing real change. Did I mention they're easy on the eyes? Which is the exact opposite of what this entity, Stacey Henley, does, using the gamer website as a platform for artificial outrage. Sites like Kotaku, Polygon, The Gamer, Reset Era, and to a lesser extent even IGN are all dominated by identity-obsessed transgender hypocrites who seize every opportunity to pull their pants down and arch their back for the double standards so Kyle girthy and width that simple screenshots of their stupid-ass article names and contradictory tweets next to one another effortlessly highlight their hypocrisy. Please like and comment below if you believe people like this should be blacklisted from the gaming industry for their documented unethical behavior, just as Nintendo has blacklisted Kotaku. A transgender reviewer rated Hogwarts Legacy a 1 out of 10 because of their feelings on J.K. Rowling in between their butt toy reviews that they normally publish. It may sound funny, but the walls of my industry have become coated with these jackasses. And naturally, to people telling me just to get over it and it is what it is, these radical, Rowling-hating trans reeled in excitement, hoping their boycott of a video game would result in anything other than Hogwarts Legacy becoming a record-breaking release. To this day, even bringing up the boycott will instantly get discussions locked, comments hidden, and even people banned because you're rubbing it in. Unless you have the approved opinion, they'll try to silence you. And they are forced to because they know they cannot effectively address your point. So they'll reduce your point. Maybe they'll even put words in your mouth, attack your credibility, attempt to mock you. But my favorite lately is just a carpet bombing of censorship. The comment locking and like hiding. This is instantly gonna have a Streisand effect and agitate some people further. Twitter allows the hiding, Reddit allows the hiding, Google makes sure you see exactly what Google wants you to see, and YouTube, it does all of the above, baby. Look how triggered the word female makes pronoun warrior Redditors with the approved opinions. Someone was banned for using the term female. Trans person, that triggered over the scientific word. They're angry at Baldy McAss for having an issue with pronouns when it's obviously the straw that broke the camel's back, and he's obviously embellishing and playing up his personality for the sake of his own stream, but you are going to try to reduce it to just the pronouns. It'd be like reducing it to just Ghostbusters, the lady version, when a lot more has happened since then. That is probably the reason why Disney's last 10 movies have been disasters. Some of the surviving comments in this graveyard read, "This is why I hate Reddit. You can be banned for almost no reason. As a woman, I prefer being called a woman, not female, but mods are 100% overreacting. If a cop caught him breaking the law, newsflash, the jail they'd be going to would be based on the M or the F that they determine when examining them. But the flex of power to remove and ban and hide, enjoy it while it lasts." This was Reddit on September 4th, 2023, on a subreddit called "There Was an Attempt." There really was an attempt, huh? Beta tester. If you buy a game on Steam and they retroactively change it to reduce or even remove something that was probably the reason you bought it in the first place, Steam will hide your comments to make sure that Skullcross doesn't look too bad. Dustborn's a game that I covered recently that ticks so many woke boxes that many of us are in true shock that it's not parody, that it's not satire. Well, I hope you didn't expect to see the dislikes, because those are hidden, and people accept that, but I hope you didn't expect to see the comment section either, because that's been disabled as well. Good thing I caught it while I knew to catch it, because they're always taking the shit away from you. Why do you think I've become some sort of habitual screenshot bastard? But what's this? The comment section's only locked on Xbox, not for PlayStation or anywhere else. Damn. It really is woke box, huh? Woke, ESG, female, Bud Light, Target, Disney, MCU, attractive women, Hogwarts Legacy. There's so many words that are powerful. That's what the trailer for that shit game said. It said words are power. They got power. You know what I mean? So many of these things trigger in an instant, in a way where they gotta mute, they gotta hide, they gotta flinch. They got a problem. What's the big deal? It's just pronouns. The pronouns are just the tip of the iceberg. But we'll allow you to pretend that you don't know what we're talking about. This hasn't happened across industries. I'll tell you what, man. You should be kissing ass right now, if you know what I'm saying. You should be kissing some ass right now, because some people are never going to want to see you again. And they would not be wrong. You have destroyed what they used to de-stress, willingly, deliberately, and you knew what you were doing. So, when evil like that gets to exist, and they get to be the approved, when evil like that gets and you knew what you were doing. So, when evil like that gets to exist, and they get to be the approved opinion and message, approved for right now. And the truth is, the kids hate this shit just as much. I can tell you, talent and woke rarely mix, and much of what is has hemorrhaged the creatives. Woke isn't the kiss of death. Woke-induced laziness that prioritizes indoctrination and messaging at the cost of entertainment. That's the kiss of death. If people finish it and feel the woke injections, would have been better spent on better writing, better execution. They're right. They're right to avoid this shit. Western media, we dare you to keep ignoring the data. because the East doesn't do that. Neither do the bots or the Chinese algorithms that have a stranglehold on the nation's youth. The truth is the pronouns help us mark y'all. They're a red flag for the lazy race swap and gender swap bullshit that bozos are hoping to trick you into watching, because they would never be able to impress you with their writing or to make you a fan of what they can't even create in the way of original shit. They gotta grab something that has a pre-existing fan base and ruin that. So fake outrage when it comes to things they don't like, fake controversy, as forced as Larry Fink's BlackRock ESG. Like, that's a Hindenburg now? Oh, the humanity. But these people that I'm spotlighting in the games journalism space, they are racist, they're sexist, they're hypocrites. They claim others are, and prove time and time again that they need to resort to censoring everything that they dislike, while hilariously claiming inclusion. These people cheer for bear sex and love women only if they stay flat and ugly, maybe vitiligo, maybe a wheelchair. But ask yourself, if they were pretty like the Japanese games, would they even need modding? Tifa's mods aren't, you know, typically face altering, they're just clothes. I'm not gonna go here, man. In the West, we have insane brands like Dove soap desperately pushing this fat acceptance and body positivity, woe is me, this is the real beauty bullshit. And of course, we're forced to educate people on the fact that Dove is under Unilever, who has fatty foods to serve right up to these women after high-fiving them for the brave choice to live as Jabba the Hutt. When they dislike anything, they jump to boycott. But if we don't like it, we a baby. Haha. Goo gaga, nigga. Disney. This pretending players are mad for fake outrage that you're forced to admit is non-existent is the definition of fake unethical journalism, especially when you deliberately omit the truth. No one cared about Final Fantasy's diversity. No one cared you hate Hogwarts Legacy. The erasing of feminine females is why manga dominates comics. It's why Genshin makes billions, while your studios go under. So white boys can be mad all they want about Stellar Blade not being forspoken enough. So offended by Project Eve's protagonist. Okay, pretty women are dated, according to this guy.
A bit old and not flattering, I don't think, for a modern audience.
Wow, for a modern audience.
In comparison to something like Forspoken, which has, you know, I mean, yes, it has much more realistic-looking character designs. It's not these hyper-proportioned something or another's, but...
White boy saw a nice ass and said, hyper-proportioned something or another. But in the end, Eve will sell Stellar Blade. Do you know how I know? Because it's made by the same people who make Goddess of Victory. You can't convince them it doesn't work. Their bank account says otherwise. Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts Legacy, Fortnite, Genshin, From Software, Larian, Avalanche, Epic, Hoyoverse, Insomniac. They scaring me by making a literal bombshell like Mary Jane, fat-faced and ugly. The fuck are y'all doing? But the gameplay's gonna keep us coming back. You'll retain the attention, the funding, and the adoration from fans as long as you keep delivering what people want without nickel and diming them. The industry hates that because they're lazy. They oppose effort, and they boast about it all the time. Look at Destiny. People reject sanitized Saints Rowification. Either make Snow White or don't call it Snow White. People reject ugly. If you want to be Bud Light forcing ugly women, be our guest. We'll find alternatives. Gamers are rejecting live services. You remember that Sushi Squad game that got delayed? Ooh, it took a few years, but even the kids are slowly coming to understand what a minimum viable product is. A lack of polish. Looks like a lazy team that's only down for the bare minimum. Ugly characters, but y'all want microtransaction money on top of Battle Pass money. on top of the base game price because it's not a free-to-play game? Okay. It's not happening. What are you, stupid? Ugly characters are not a standard, okay? And there is a bar with modern gaming that I know the Western devs are trying really hard to, like, scooch in front of. Nope, there's nothing back here. Rocksteady banned me because of my naughty, unapproved words. But it won't hide people's resentment. It won't diminish the justified sentiment from people who, once again, are taking the time to offer consultation free. Like what we did for y'all with Saints Row. It used to be I had to convince people that this was deliberate. The uglification, them trying to drag the bar down. They'll routinely show you them hanging off this thing these days. And they're just handing it to...
Twitty Undefined. Welcome to my channel. S.W.Frost have a good stream viewers for only easy with get view ERS Pro catch a promo for free viewers GVPDNLQJLQ.
Thanks, but no. Oh, brother. The fuck is that? That's fine.
Test. Kata. Welcome to my channel. Okay. Welcome to my channel. HVDES. Welcome to my channel.
BRB.
Welcome to my channel. Nightman. Welcome to my channel. Stream Elements. Welcome to my channel. Drapsnat. Welcome to my channel. Polaragui. Welcome to my channel. Reveal Mercy. Welcome to my channel.
Oh my god. What the hell? Oh no. Oh. Okay. Somehow it works. Truly impressive.
And naturally, to people telling me just to get over it and it is what it is. These radical bird now.
It's not these hyper proportion something or another's, but
White boy saw a nice ass and said hyper proportioned something or another. But in the end, Eve will sell Stellar Blade. Do you know how I know? Because it's made by the same people who make Goddess of Victory. You can't convince them it doesn't work. Their bank account says otherwise. Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts Legacy, Fortnite, Genshin, From Software, Larian, Avalanche, Epic, Hoyoverse, Insomniac. They scaring me by making a little bombshell like Mary Jane, fat-faced and ugly. The fuck are y'all doing? But the gameplay's gonna keep us coming back. You'll retain the attention, the funding, and the adoration from fans as long as you keep delivering what people want without nickel and diming them. The industry hates that because they're lazy. They oppose effort.
Welcome to my channel.
And they boast about it all the time. Look at Destiny. People reject sanitized Saints Rowification. Either make Snow White or don't call it Snow White. People reject ugly. If you want to be Bud Light forcing ugly women, be our guest. We'll find alternatives. Gamers are rejecting live services. You remember that Sushi Squad game that got delayed? Ooh, it took a few years, but even the kids are slowly coming to understand what a minimum viable product is. A lack of polish. Looks like a lazy team that's only down for the bare minimum. Ugly characters. But y'all want microtransaction money on top of Battle Pass money, on top of the base game price, because it's not a free-to-play game. Okay. It's not happening. What are you, stupid? Ugly characters are not a standard, okay? And there is a bar with modern gaming that I know the Western devs are trying really hard to, like, scooch in front of. Nope, there's nothing back here. Rocksteady banned me because of my naughty, unapproved words. But it won't hide people's resentment. It won't diminish the justified sentiment from people who, once again, are taking the time to offer consultation free, like what we did for y'all with Saints Row. It used to be I had to convince people that this was deliberate, the uglification, them trying to drag the bar down. They'll routinely show you them hanging off this thing these days. And they're just handing it to Japan. How embarrassing. Starfield's gunplay is worse than Destiny 1's. Because of this filthy creation engine, and you Xbox losers are capping for that garbage. Destiny's like a decade old, man. And there are other games that probably have better gunplay. And I know it seems like, oh, black guy's worried about the gunplay, man. Look, it's un-American. Some of these games play like a tech demo. It ain't just the loading screens, homie. Y'all are unaware of where the bar is. So when this Unreal Engine 5 shit comes out and you pretend that your balls aren't blown clean off, we'll see what a hypocrite you are. And y'all should hold them to task. Listener, you should hold them to task for that bullshit. It's enough of the contradiction. Tech demos like Immortals of Avium charging entirely too much, while Wukong, Project Mugen, Crimson Desert, Stellar Blade, First Descendant, Fortnite, developing so fast it's hard to keep up. It's hard to get footage before things are changed. When they drop that first person, if they decide to care. If not, the fans, the creative people can care, and eventually that'll be its own thing. But this crowd-pleasing thing doesn't seem to be American anymore, which is kind of sad. We don't have to, you know, position a Netflix next to their blockbuster. They're crumbling on their own. They called you names, everything in the book. But they need to silence you. That's what I want you to see. In the end, they are powerless to stop what's happening. It's a standalone complex. We did not coordinate this. We all just, we're sick of it. So, make fun of Baldy all y'all want, man. I see this woke shit. I'm not buying it. In time, it'll be free, and we can laugh at it then. Just like Saints Row, PlayStation Plus subscriber. My educated consultation is that as Wheels versus Babyface, even in his Super Saiyan Cartman form, is indicative of a significant portion of the audience's necessary, demographic-wise, to turn a profit on your potential project. Mark yourself as woke if you're stupid. Beta testers, I love you. And gaming is getting its balls back.
I'm not ready yet. I don't have enough fury. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I'm not ready yet. I need more fury. I'm out of fury.
A lot of people from the Fellowship, if you don't know who the Fellowship is, it's a lot of content creators within kind of that base space, you know, what we would call base, you know, this circle of creators that have welcomed me and a bunch of other people who are really awesome. I'm just honored to be able to interact with on a regular basis. But that is the Fellowship. So the Fellowship has been talking about Starfield a lot lately and calling it woke. And because of that, woke tards are just screeching, angry, and telling us we should be unalived and things of that nature just because, you know, we call a game woke. That's completely reasonable and not mentally ill behavior or anything, right? Okay, let me dive into this article. Man, my camera. All right, so let me dive into this article from Bounding Into Comics. I gotta love them. All right, so they said Hassan Piker, if you don't know who that is as well, he is
I'm out of fury.
Streamer, like really leftoid streamer. He's a what do you call a champagne communist or whatever. He's one of those. Okay, he's super popular. Like he's like one of the biggest lefty streamers on Twitch, if not the biggest. Anyway, so he insinuates he wants to lobotomize as Heels versus Babyface. Follow him. I will show you this. You'll see it here. From Heels versus Babyface for criticizing Starfield's embrace of current-day gender identity politics. Okay, Twitch personality Hassan Piker recently insinuated he wanted to lobotomize as blah blah blah. Okay, what I just read. All right, so in a clip from his many live streams playing Starfield in early access, as stated, Bethesda, there is nothing I love more than to sit down, comfy chair, turn on my PC, fire up a brand new RPG, and lose myself. You know, and I'm just going to show you in his words, and because he's great. but yeah, I think he really expresses a lot of the sentiment of a lot of us gamers. Now, I'll input my own commentary and opinions after I just show you guys what he said. And here we have Dan Vask, who says Western gaming industry with the mighty Heels versus Babyface, and he shares this snippet.
I just want to say something to you, Bethesda. Just want to say a little something. There is nothing I love more.
I'm not
taking my headphones off. Fuck that. Bethesda, there is nothing I love more than to sit down, comfy chair, turn on my PC, fire up a brand new RPG, lose myself, think, oh my god, just think of this world, just think of all the planets I can visit, all the immersive things that I can get involved with, all the fights, all the relationships, all the people I meet, all the places I go. I'm so excited to go there. And you know, I love nothing more than, with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every fucking conceivable opportunity so you can fucking current day us. Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit!
I'm not ready yet.
Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring! We can't see past our own fucking reflection!
I'm not ready yet.
That's the level of our narcissism here at Bethesda Western Game Company. Fuck your immersion. Fuck you having a good time. Fuck you falling into a world and just getting lost. No, no, no. Current fucking day.
Not like this.
Fuck off. You're boring. You're fucking dull. You have nothing to say. You are a one-hived mind twat waffle. That's all you fucking are. And you wonder why people are getting so fucking sick and tired. You take everything we love, all our emotions, all our fantasies, all our escapism, and you just can't help shovel your dog shit, fucking crap ideology into everything, every single solitary fucking thing.
This can't be happening.
Can't nobody rant like Az. Just absolute legend of rants, the king of rants. And he says what a lot of us are thinking, and just in his amazing way. So anyway, yeah, just to kind of echo his sentiments, that's a lot of how I feel with, like, look, let's Tomb Raider. I will use this as an example in almost every video I talk about. This, what I loved so much about Tomb Raider was that I got to unplug from the real world and go on an adventure with Lara Croft. This larger-than-life, beautiful, bombshell, smart, acrobatic, you know, taking out dinosaurs and statues come to life. You get to go on an adventure that's something like nothing ever seen in the real world. And that's what is so fun. You get to experience just this marvelous thing. And with video games now just constantly inserting ideologies into their games, And stuff that we keep seeing bombarded on Twitter, for example, just people arguing about made-up identities, people changing their genders, all this kind of stuff, you know? It's like, man, I just want to unplug and play a game. And in this case, with what Az was saying, he just wanted to explore space, bro. That's it. Why is there all this? Why? So anyway, let's continue with the article, and then I'll add some more of my opinions and stuff. And you know, it's narcissism. That's a lot of it is narcissism. And one reason why we have so many of these ideologies inserted into the games is because these narcissists who need validation from everybody. You know, it's already bad enough that people are making up genders or whatever. But if that's what they're gonna do, okay, go be crazy. Who gives a crap, you know? But when they expect the entire world to validate their crazy, they expect the entire world to validate them. That is the issue. We have to play your game to the point to where we can't even go into an imaginary world without your imaginary stuff added into it. They need validation so bad because you know who doesn't need validation? People who are confident in themselves. You know what I mean? People who are confident that what they're doing is sound or right, you know? I don't need people to validate me about my faith, for example. I don't need people to validate me about Christianity. I don't need all these games to put things about Jesus in it constantly. Yeah, I think it's cool when there's some Christian games that exist, but just saying, like, I don't need Starfield. I don't need some MMO. Oh, okay, they have to put in Bible verses in every single game. I don't need that. Because I don't need validation from every single person around me and this and that. I know in my spirit, hey, this is the truth. This is real. This is the truth. And so whenever I share scripture and this and that, it's in an effort to help others. Okay?
I'm not ready yet.
And it's a more selfless type thing. It's not the same as, oh, let's do this and have people validate my pronouns and fake pronouns. Okay, I'm gonna go by theys or they, them, and I need everyone to acknowledge me, you know? So it's a completely different animal here. And the fact that it has seeped into the gaming industry as bad as it has, we're sick of it. We are sick of it. It's been happening, but we're sick of it, right? So here we have Hassan, who says this weird British guy losing his mind over selecting pronouns in Starfield is the perfect demonstration for why we must bring back lobotomy. Retarded take, but okay. And a follow-up, Piker disingenuously wrote, "Bro should be mad that the menu maps UI is confusing. The game is not optimized well for PCs, or that the main quest is kind of dull in comparison to side adventures. But he's mad about pronouns he had to choose, like in every single game where there's a character creator. This is simply not true, as most games before current day had players, if given the option, choose between male and female sex. They did not have players pick how other characters would refer to them with pronouns. There would also not be an option for they, them, as heels versus babyface showcased in his first live stream of the game. Nevertheless, Piker is clearly captured by the current day gender identity politics, which Az is vociferously condemning for being included in Starfield. As I pointed out numerous times here at Bounding into Comics, this embrace of pronoun or transgender ideology is wrong. Bishop Michael Burbidge, I'm not Catholic. I don't know what to, I'm Christian, so okay. But so if I pronounce anybody's name, no disrespect. Of the Catholic Diocese of Arlington explains, those asserting a transgender identity and or seeking to transition often adopt new names and pronouns that reflect their desired identity and insist that others must use the chosen names and pronouns. Such use might seem innocuous and even appear to be innocent, an innocent way of signaling love and acceptance of a person. In reality, however, it presents
not
a
ready yet.
profound crisis. We can never say something contrary to what we know to be true. To use names and pronouns that contradict a person's God-given identity is to speak falsely. Bishop Burbage adds, the faithful should avoid using gender-affirming terms or pronouns that convey approval or reinforce the person's rejection of the truth. It is not harsh or judgmental to decline to use such language. In broader culture, Catholics may experience significant pressure to adopt culturally approved terminology. However, in no circumstance should anyone be compelled to use language contrary to the truth. The right to speak the truth inheres in the human person and cannot be taken away by any human institution. Attempts by the state, corporations, or employers to compel such language, particularly by threats of legal action or job loss, are unjust. This is very on point. I completely agree, and that's something that I've I've felt convicted for over time, because used to I thought I didn't mind using people's. I felt weird doing the whole they them thing, but if transgender people, you know, was like, oh, whatever, go ahead and call them by the pronoun they want, right? He or she. And I did that for a while, but then I started to feel like, okay, I think this is wrong, because as a Christian that I am, you know, I shouldn't be validating transgender ideology. I shouldn't be validating that, because it is against the Bible. I mean, the Bible specifically speaks of men and women not wearing each other's clothes, and not so much in a you know, my interpretation of that is not so much in a, you know, a girl wearing her boyfriend's oversized hoodie, but more so in attempting to look like the opposite gender. And
I'm not ready yet.
so for me, I just don't feel right doing that and using their pronouns that they want me to use if they are inaccurate to the gender that God created them as. All right, so let's continue. He then emphasizes we must love in truth, and truth must be accurately conveyed by our words. At the same time, clarity must always be at the service of charity, as part of a broader desire to move people towards the fullness of the truth. Also, well said. That's the thing, is people act like you're not being loving, or that you're being hateful for using the pronouns, their accurate biological pronouns, and act like that's hateful. But just like said here, the truth, you can't, a lie, you know, a lie is not love. It's just not. It's a lie. It's a lie. And that's also against the Bible. And I mean, come on. So we're supposed to live in a lie, and we're supposed to affirm a lie? No. All right. So people on Twitter have been raging. I found this because of player takes, because this guy was, you know, he wouldn't tag me and Nina in this, of course. He didn't want to take no heat, but he thought he wanted to dunk on us. He goes, I know we are all making fun of that bald dude being livid about Starfield pronouns, but we should make fun of them as well, of course, because you always got to have that catty feminine guy that's got to pick on women. That's their favorite thing. The male feminist types, they are scared of men, like, because they can't square up against men, right? Emotionally, physically, all of it. So that's why they target women, all while pretending to be champions of women. It's quite ironic. So anyway, this was a tweet which I'll show. I believe it was right here. This is the original tweet in question. She goes, I almost refunded my game when Starfield asked me for pronouns. I might still, ... I'm annoyed about it. Okay, and then she goes on to clarify. Update, she did refund Starfield. She had major issues with the frame rate, and also issues where she would talk to an NPC and their mouth didn't move, but she could hear the audio. It happened multiple times. I may have let the pronouns thing go if the game was close to perfect. It's not. It's terribly glitchy. I had issues with Cyberpunk at launch. Wow, this has 1 million views. I hope she's monetized. So anyway, then I replied to this, and I said, well, I won't be getting it confirmed. And of course, people got all butthurt about it. I did not, and you know, it's funny because I usually know when people are gonna get butthurt and come after me, and in this case, I didn't expect it.
Welcome to
like,
my channel.
You know, I was just very lighthearted about it. I wasn't just like,
Hello.
oh, this is blah, 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 even though I don't even against that, like as poetically
Hello,
as on his rants. But I just thought, oh, this is
Good day.
funny. So I was like, well, I won't be getting it confirmed. And people are like, why are you so triggered? Why are you so mad? You're molding. It's like,
Wow, that's a Starfield rant. Like people who bought the Starfield, but they aren't really, well, satisfied. Oh, wow. Out of like 20 people that I followed, let me see, and then I know that like they stream Hunt Showdown. I see 1, 2, 3 people, and those are like people that have like a large viewer count, like between 100 and 1,000 viewers, and they probably think that nobody's gonna watch them for what they are. They're gonna watch them for the game they stream.
if I ever see anybody,
Which I find sad.
It's the woke tards, dude.
Yeah.
They will like lose their ever-loving mind.
If your personality is defined only by the stuff that you do, but not for what you are, then you are a shallow person, I think. Well, did I phrase that good? I don't know. Samo da kažem zdravo, Nenade, i skloni si iz kanala, već su si 2 sata. Anyway. I guess I would like to play some other games, but the games that I want to play, or the updates that I want to try, they aren't really out. So yeah, I'm just, you know, I guess putting my brain off and just watching YouTube. No.
My thanks, Wanderer. I cannot.
I don't know.
I must wait.
I must wait. I cannot.
Minds over not being called a made-up pronoun. But me going, well,
What?
this is not for me. Whoa, she's molding. So anyway, player takes brought this to my attention. And he goes, or they go, I don't know what their gender is. When I say they, I mean male or female, I don't know, but definitely not non-binary. I always find it funny how players, trademark, like this dude, are too cowardly to actually tag the people they are encouraging others to target in and let them have a say back. I wonder what Melanie Mac and Nina Infinity have to say to you. Now let's look at this guy's profile here. Okay, his bio here. I mean, first of all, the picture. Okay, everything you'd expect. It's just a drawing, so you know he's an even worse version of that. But okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. His bio says a media critic, sensitivity consultant.
What?
Made Stop Gamergate 2014. Streamer, Card Lord, Dapper Seek with NFT. Nice hacking turban. Okay. Interesting. All right. Sensitivity consultant tells people that they need to make fun of us.
I'm not ready yet.
Wow. Interesting. All right. neat. And I like that Nina doubled down. This is what I really appreciate about her. She's got courage, man. Because she got a lot of backlash for that original tweet. She even got taken out of context a lot. And some of that did get rectified, but not all of it, from other people. So she took a lot of heat from that, and she doubled down. I'm like, yes, girl. She goes, people are pretending that putting preferred pronouns in a video game is completely normal. People who are pretending that are being disingenuous. AF. Starfield is a woke and crappy game. I completely agree with her in this case. Now, I'll expand on that here in a second because I feel like this explained things really well too. So Dan says here, it's okay to have high tolerance to bullcrap. No irony. It's fine to be cool with wokeness in Starfield. Some people have a higher threshold. Some people have it lower. But if you are to make the claim that the game is not woke, when the first thing to greet you is this weird character creation straight out of a California college reality where gender doesn't exist and pronouns are interchangeable, now that's disingenuous. The game is woke and you find it reasonably acceptable, yet you'll do well to remember no extremist political movement ever stopped at reasonably acceptable. All right, this video is getting really long, so I gotta close this out. But anyway, I just think that the main principle of this all, and I think most of us we're just tired. We're really tired of this, right?
Oh, he died.
We've
he
been
actually
speaking out
died.
against a lot of the woke ideologies being inserted into these games, and the woke ideologies that have hijacked the gaming industry at large. We have been speaking out against this, but there was still, like, I think, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone, there was still, you know, a little bit of wiggle room for okay, if the game's really good, I'll put up with this, or I'll put up with that, whatever. But
dead.
My tolerance for this stuff is, like, on the floor now. I'm sick of it. I am just so sick of it. It's like, come on, man. This is beyond ridiculous. So that's where I'm at with things. So some people may think, oh, this is an overreaction, this, that, and the other. It's like, dude, there's so many reasons for that. First of all, the more you just let stuff go, the more it piles up and the worse it gets, right? So enough is enough. At some point, you have to draw the line. And I think that's where a lot of gamers are at now. We're drawing a line because it's like, all right, enough's enough. Because this is going to pile up and it's going to get ridiculous. I mean, look where we are at society. People are mutilating children's bodies. They are chemically and surgically castrating them, right? Even adults. I'm not even for it for adults. I don't think adults should be getting their body parts cut off. I think it's ridiculous, right? We should not be mutilating human beings. You know, we should not be mutilating them to look like
I'm not ready yet.
some scientific experiment, right? That's a whole other discussion. You know, people are gonna be, what about this? What about that? I ain't got time for that. All I'm saying is, let's not pretend like gender reassignment surgeries are not Frankenstein stuff, okay? Let's not pretend that. Let's not compare that to a woman with triple G breasts that wants to get them lightened up a little bit so that she doesn't break her back when she walks. You know, all right, let's not compare it. Okay. So anyway, there you have it for this video. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. And I always close out my videos saying don't forget to read your Bible today, which I still want to emphasize. But I wanted to also add that as suggested, I will be obliging and I will be making a new channel this week. I don't know what to call it. Maybe Melanie Mac reads the Bible.
Please heal up.
Where I do just that and I just read the Bible. And I'm also going to upload on Spotify. I want to do, like, you know, a few chapters per and just do this every day. You know, I'll have the whole Bible read through within a year at that rate. And then I'm going to do different translations and all that kind of stuff. That's my goal, because I have felt a purpose on my heart to share the gospel, to share the word of God to people. That is my biggest thing I emphasize to people. Read the Bible. It will change your life. It's changed my life. And so I cannot stress it enough that this needs to be something daily. Just like eating, just like drinking water. This is something you need to do daily. and you need to feed your spirit, and it's so
Yes.
Tide of Shadows is coming to an end, and you might be curious what will happen to Rotjaw and Thundershower after the event, and this video seeks to find the answer. I had the opportunity to sit down with Hunt Showdown General Manager David Fifield and pick his brain about Hunt Showdown's development, how it stacks up against its competition in the gaming market, and an exclusive answer about the fate of Rotjaw and Thundershower. In this interview, we are playing a little proto mode we made up in the shooting range where we progress through 3 tiers of weapons to gain a point. You gain a promotion by getting a kill with that tier's weapon, and you get demoted when you get killed. But similar to the motion of a tide, only one player can progress at a time, so it's a tug of war of consecutive kills. And if you don't care about any of that, you can also just listen. So enjoy hearing David in the hot seat while he answers my 12 questions. Sometimes I'm nice and let him answer instead of shooting him. Timestamps below if you want to hop around. Be sure to subscribe for all the latest Hunt Showdown news, and let's get to it. What is happening with the live series announced for Binge?
The live series for Binge. So Binge had the rights previously to do web short form videos, and that was part of this entertainment platform that they were looking to launch sometime this year or last year. I'm not exactly clear on what the original timetable was. But those rights did expire without them going into pre-production, so they did lose those rights, and we took the rights back fully. And so nothing is going forward with that. But we have the rights, and we are considering other video partners who might want to put out some kind of franchise extension talking about the Hunt universe. And it's pretty safe to say that when we strike any new deal and that begins actually moving forward with momentum, we will announce and let everyone know about it.
So just to be clear, there will be no Binge series.
Well, the clearest I can be is they used to have the rights and they no longer have the rights. And so as we talk about what the future might be, it does not look like it will be any series with them unless some other things were to fall into place.
Great. Now prepare to die. Oh no, now I've messed up.
Oh, how the turns table.
Do that here.
Does the recent record-breaking concurrent player count validate the direction Hunt Showdown is headed? Is there a target player count you would call healthy?
So yeah, every time we break a record, that's certainly validating. So the audience size is growing. It's definitely been very strong. Even before I had joined the team last year, Hunt was on a pretty steady climb upwards with Devil's Moon, and with Tide of Shadows, we continue to break the records, and the climb has become even more steep, so that's super encouraging. So that's definitely the goal of any live service game, is to be maintaining or growing the audience. And then my experience, like anything that's growing has to be considered healthy so long as the investment and the pace is sustainable for like revenue and dev team capacity. And you know, that's the big focus for us as we go forward, is making sure we reinvest the success that Hunt is having, that we're building the team up to be able to sustainably do this without, you know, undue crunch and undue crazy efforts. We'd like to put things out with less hot fixes needed, so that's another very strong goal that will also help with retention. Oh!
I was
Don't
gonna
want that
let
ladder.
you, keep going with your answer.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's it. Making sure, you know, if we can stay on the course, that's healthy. Even when we reach a peak, then, you know, we haven't yet gone down over time, and so until we start going down in population and player size, there would be no reason to consider things unhealthy. And even games that hit a peak can maintain for a very long time. So yeah, Hunt's on the way up, and that is always encouraging to see and talk about.
I find it interesting at least you're focused on dev capacity, which is, I think, a positive note.
Yeah, I mean, that's like with the live service game, it's trying to put things out every quarter, you know, fix and tune things every month or things like that. Is you can't just go into like, oh, it's, hey, one push.
I'm not ready yet.
It's always there's a next push, always there's a next thing we have to do, and if it's just going to be a steady part of our lives, we have to make it something that everybody can live their life and do steadily. Ah! Oh, the shotgun version.
Okay, the Cycle announced it's ending support and disabling servers after the summer. Why do you think so many extraction shooters have struggled to find their footing?
Well, extraction shooters appear to be the new hot thing, right? And that's the genre of shooter that's coming up the quickest, where you had the team deathmatch or deathmatch to team deathmatch, the tactical team games with bomb plants and things like that, and then the royales broke out from there. Extraction shooters kind of came out at about the same time as some of the royales. Didn't catch on as big as that global phenomenon, but definitely have been growing and taking more and more of the shooter share. So, I mean, anytime you have that new genre, that's going to catch a lot of fast follows, and a lot of people who are going to try to do the exact same thing, but just with a little bit of a tweak, or maybe they just change the art up a little or the style. They changed one or two mechanics, but when it's kind of the same thing, then it comes down to just execution and attracting the audience, and it can be really hard to attract the audience away from the established games they prefer. So it's not just the Cycle and, you know, the things that happened with them doing their version of an extraction shooter. That's like, you see the same thing for any genre of games where somebody's like, oh, let's all do a 3D isometric hack and slash because Hades was so successful, or let's all try to jump on the bandwagon of Fall Guys, or let's all try to jump on the bandwagon of, you know, pick whatever genre you want. That you're going to have far more games fall away and go out of service than you are going to have new competitors who get into that service, make their toehold, and then
Zeke,
hold on to it.
welcome to my
Not
channel.
to disparage the Cycle dev team.
I wouldn't disparage them at all. I mean, I have massive respect for Jaeger. I think it was a great game, and there are a lot of great games that do not wind up finding their audience or be able to maintain the size population that they have to have. There's a lot of things the Cycles did that Hunt doesn't do, and Hunt can learn from and try to emulate. And again, that's just it. Like, you can even build the better mousetrap sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to find the market or be successful. The real key is having an audience, holding the audience, and growing the audience.
With the Cycle specifically, in part, just a little bit too late to the party, you think?
I think too late to the party and too samey to Tarkov. That would be my answer. And then just anecdotally, without being an expert, having, you know, I could read the news, it felt like their free-to-play nature made them more vulnerable to cheaters. Because even if you ban a cheater, they just make a new account for free. So
right,
reacting to cheaters is often not enough for a free game. You have to be able to just full-on prevent them. Better than apparently happened there. But, oh, I should have switched to shotgun.
What other games do you play when you're not playing Hunt Showdown?
Well, so Hunt's got to be at least 90% of my gaming time. And let's see, I just crossed 2,200 hours. So I do play a lot of games, and that's probably 2,200 in the last 2.5 years. Prior to that, I used to split my time between Apex and Fortnite. I had like 1,500 hours in Apex and about 700 hours, or no, 1,500 hours in Fortnite and 700 hours in Apex. So there was a lot of time in those games before I came to know and fall in love with Hunt.
So you said Fortnite and Apex as your top
shooters, yeah. Before getting into Hunt, those were the ones I went the deepest and longest playing.
So there's something about this like small team versus everyone style that appeals to you?
Oh, well, it was the Royales. I thought the Royales did more to freshen up shooters than anything prior to, you know, like a tactical CSGO kind of game. Like that was a breakout for shooters at the previous mark. And then I saw you at the top of the ladder and didn't believe. See you?
Yeah.
Distracting me with game questions. I got it. Yeah, so
it is
those are
a
the big
severe
ones.
advantage or disadvantage for you to be answering a question.
Well, see, we're learning as we go.
Not ready yet.
We are most of the way through all the content talked about in the developer roadmap video published earlier this year. Will we be getting a new roadmap video soon?
I need time.
Soonish, yeah. I hear feet. We will be doing a video again Hopefully in September to close out what the rest of 2023 is going to look like and start to talk about the first parts of 2024.
So soon, is that like following the Tide of Shadows event?
Oh, you win!
So soon, trademark. A new video talking about what's coming next is happening.
Yeah, you should expect another more official roadmap-ish video that would come in September would be my answer. Now it's time to talk about and add some clarity to like what's our progress on the engine integration, and then all the other general roadmap type, here's what you can expect from us going forward.
The Inferno and Thunder Shower both have a heavy audio element to them. Will we continue to see new audioscapes in these new times of day as they get made?
Yeah, the audio component of both Inferno and Thunder Shower, obviously on purpose. We often talk about how strong the audio in Hunt is and what a major part of gameplay it is, so that is a major part of gameplay for us to experiment with, you know, changing up and manipulating. Like I would even say Thunder Shower was a very interesting audio change up and something that I think did help with breaking up stalemates a bit, because it gave that noise cover to make rushes where you might not otherwise make rushes, and it gave noise cover for you to escape where you might not otherwise feel like you could escape. So we had those things. Ow! Right in the head.
Thunder Shower obviously, I think, has a more widespread audio element to it. When that heavy rain kicks in, you really can't hear much.
Yeah. Well, I think more important, like it has a stronger audio element, but more importantly, it's not constant. It's the dynamic that it turns on and off at different times the players don't control. And so the Inferno had a lot of noise and covered footsteps and, you know, was a distraction, but it was always constant and always location based. Whereas with Thunder Shower, it was neither constant nor location based. And so that one, I think it made it more effective at trying to move players along and go from there.
Not everyone will know this, but you play a lot of Hunt Showdown. You already mentioned that. It's like 90% of your playtime. How would you say being a fan of the game helps you develop it?
Let's see, being a fan of the game, I think, firstly, being a super fan of the game, let's get that right. I'm not just a fan of the game. Being a super fan of the game definitely helped with getting to know the dev team, you know, being able to establish a rapport with them right away.
Right. You can talk about the game that they also love.
Yeah, and that they wouldn't be worried that I'm just going to change it up and make it into one of the games I've made before. Like, I think that was a lot of people would look at my resume and be like, you're just going to try and make it like one of those other games. And I'd be like, no, I'm not working on those games. I came to this game because this game's amazing. Oh!
I'm gonna pause you there because we have a minute left on our server. We have 22 seconds.
Okay.
For our reset, you were saying that some people might have been worried that you were going to try to redevelop games you've already worked on, but
yeah, I think that's just natural when you hire somebody in who has a resume with, you know, big titles on it, or, you know, a long history. That can be a concern. And so yeah, that, you know, that I came to Hunt and I didn't regard it as something broken to be fixed. I saw it as, you know, an amazing product to be grown and refined, and that means a lot to developers who poured years of development time in their life into the product up to that point. So that helped at the interview level right at the beginning. And so then having that rapport established, then the other part is, it's not just being a fan, it's like, you know, the hundreds and now thousands of hours in the game is being really aware of all the vast mechanics and the interlocking systems. And that's probably what helps the most, because at a leadership and business level, it's easy to make a really bad decision that looks good on paper or sounds good financially, but you don't understand will ruin the experience or the, you know, intricate balance of how all the systems work together.
Right.
And, you know, so that could be real devastating when someone's like, I don't care, I just want you to sell this for blood bonds. And you're like, well, no, that's pay to win, and that's really not popular.
Right.
And so even being able to boil that down to how does the knock-on effect of acquiring a legendary hunter or acquiring a different type of weapon, or what is the purpose of the hunt dollars, that's something that being deeply aware of how the game works, we don't mess with. And then understanding, like we do with the packs and the new traits, what is fair game to change up without it taking away the core of hunt.
Right, I will warn you, you are in the danger zone of a knife, but I'm also going to ask a follow-up.
Okay.
It can't be overstated that you are a fan of this game, but
True.
have you found that working on previous big titles like Halo and Call of Duty lends you some credibility that you know what you're talking about as far as the games industry is concerned?
Oh yeah, for sure, because they operate at a scale of player base, much larger than what Hunt currently has. So as we grow, there are necessary things that we have to do, and like people have heard me talk about since I got here, the concepts of server improvements and back-end stuff. I've been dealing with matchmaking. What? I protest.
You've been dealing with matchmaking?
Yeah, well, I'm dealing with a combat log right now. 22 in the leg, and only 20% of pellets into your chest at that range.
Yeah, your first hit did not do what I thought
It didn't get a
do.
bar, it was just 22.
Yeah.
And then 56 on the second one. Oh!
Well, I think those were good answers. We can move on to... How does Crytek choose which legendary hunter gets added to the game next?
Oh, it's a good one. So brainstorming, whiteboarding, just throwing a whole bunch of things on a whiteboard, brainstorming what makes sense for like the story that we're trying to tell during the event, or just as the game moves forward, is a big part of it. There's what sounds or looks cool and what's a badass hunter, and then lots of debates ensue about that stuff. Ow. And then the other thing we have talked about is we do purposely over-index on some of the marginalized or underrepresented groups in history, and we feel like no one knows exactly what the history is, and we play in kind of the gray areas of our own history anyways. So having those kind of untold tales of the unsung heroes is definitely a part of like we want to represent in Hunt, and that notion that either because of who was writing the history or the fact that all this stuff in Hunt was so horrific nobody wants to talk about it, leads to just different stories with different types of heroes than other games might have had in the past.
So just to clarify, you're also talking about like marginalized communities, or like people that aren't canon to Western history, or however you want to.
Yeah, for sure. So we have all the different nationalities that we represent. We do, a lot of splits along gender and non-gendered characters. All those things that, aren't a typical part of cowboy western fare or even action shooter fare. It's becoming more common. It certainly wasn't common in the other stories that are told about this time period. And that's just, again, something that we talk to about the shadowy corners of the world and the unsung heroes. Oh! I thought you would move forward to the other building.
Are there any quotes or mantras you live by? Is there a guiding philosophy that you develop by?
Yeah, there's many. I guess I'm really into management productivity books. A lot of things that were probably formative for me from my time back in the military 30 years ago. So one book is Extreme Ownership, and probably the most important lesson I have to keep remembering myself and trying to teach people is there are no bad teams, there are only bad leaders.
So that's like hyper accountability at the leadership level.
Correct. It's leaders have to be completely accountable for what their teams do, to the point that there isn't a bad team, there's only a bad leader, because if there is what you want to call an air quote bad team, it's the leader's responsibility to fix the team, or to give the team the right mission, or to give the team the resources it needs. And so that's any leader who tries to blame their team for the problem is definitely not the solution. So that's not. So then you have to talk about, do you even have the right leaders, and what is your mentality there? And that's hard because, you know, I've been doing it for like 27 years and leading for like 25 of those. So another mantra from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is seek first to understand and then to be understood. So if you go in with inquiry and trying to understand why people are saying or thinking or doing the things they're doing, it can save you from blundering into bad assumptions. Whoa! Were you same level or above?
Above.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. I just wasn't aware of my vulnerability. And then also that it's easier for you to explain things or to get people to listen to you if you have demonstrated that you are listening to them and understand their point and, you know, what's important to them.
What is Hunt Showdown's greatest challenge in developing the game?
I am not good with a shotgun. That's its greatest challenge.
Good shot.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I knew there would be a 360 no scope on me eventually. Or
That's it.
180, I guess, but
Yeah. Going back to my gamer roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only a 180. I did not. I didn't pull no 270 spin or 360 420.
what is Hunt Showdown's greatest challenge in developing the game?
Far and away is the fact that it's a live service product, right? So being able to effectively build for the future 9 to 12 months down the road is challenging while you're maintaining and always supporting and sometimes having to repair the live version of the game or the stuff that's about to go out in 30 or 60 days. That can become such a total focus that you... What? Such a total focus that you wonder how you're double tapped into this person.
A trade! What happens there? We're just on the same...
Yeah, I think we just stay in the same place, so drilling versus pistol.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a live service, you always get those updates going. You know, it's a lot shorter deadlines than dev teams have historically worked against when making big video games, and have that piece, you know, and you know, it's, people will often liken it to like we're repairing the airplane while it's in flight, and that just, you feel like if we could just land this thing or just take it offline for a little bit, it'd be, you know, well, so you don't get that option. You get an hour or two to take it offline to just replace what's there. So those are the big challenges by far that Hunt faces.
And then your next question, how do you want Hunt Showdown to be remembered by history?
Remembered by history? I want it to be remembered as a premier extraction shooter that set the bar for others to chase and ran for 10 plus years.
And we are at 5 so far.
Well, yeah, so far. 5.5.
Is there anything, any criteria that would make it remain a premier extraction shooter? Like, what does that mean to you?
I think the constant growth of the audience would be there. I mean, it certainly has the audience's attention, it has the press's attention. So that's it. I mean, 5 years of constant growth. If it has 10 years of constant growth, it won't be remembered. It'll still be getting experienced. So yeah, Premier being in the top 1, 2, or 3 of any extraction shooter list is probably one measure.
Would you say it's currently there? Top 1 or 2?
Yeah, I think I would put Tarkov as number 1 by size of audience, and I would put Hunt Showdown as number 2, right behind it.
Some of these shots I feel so confident about.
Redtail Fox up. Welcome to my channel.
Oh, home. It's the second time I have clicked an empty shotgun. You know what it is I think I wind up whiffing a shotgun shot early, switching to the medium ammo, and then not really computing that I whiffed the shotgun.
As we enter the final stages of Tide of Shadows, what will be the fate of Rotjaw and Thundershower? Will they remain after the event, or where are they going?
So yeah, that's a very common question that we get a lot, and I will give you the official answer first. So both Rotjaw and Thundershower will be staying around. They've had very positive reviews, very positive feedback. We really like how they've helped change up the hunt ecosystem.
Pa, bio si ti u sobi, ja si ti se javio, ali sam kontao da si zaboravio da si izloguješ jednostavno iz...
stavio sam. Gledao sam da se ispružim i tako sam zaspao.
Nisam tačno čitao kad treba da izađe onaj update za onaj last epoch. Negdje početkom septembra, samo ne vidim tačno datum.
I don't have the coin. I must wait.
Da, videh negdje, čini mi se da ima public test za Payday 3. Samo da vidim da li može se skine. Pa probao bi igru da mi nešto liči. Ako vredi uzubije.
Ako ima javi da skinim jedan.
A znamo jedan drugi da neš uzeti. Nego ćeš čekat da prođu 2 godine da je možda uzmeš ako bude na raspodi. Imate $40 igre.
Trenutno ne mogu, trenutno sam...
A trenutno se ne sećam. Kredit? Kredit?
A mogu sam za kredit za master.
Aha, moguće da... Za master? Za studije, šta?
Da.
Peggy 18.
Pa vidio sam da ima fora, ali moguće da moraš da uzmeš pre-purchase, second technical beta test. Open.
Tako da je,
Kliknuo sam na link i...
Alright guys, it's a simple job. Just in and out. Nothing to...
Nemoj da mi učitavaš reklame u pozadini, bre, marš.
To sam dao džabe, pa ne znam da uči. Što se došao.
Kaže, visit Payday 3 store page, press request access near the top of the page. Dobro. Gde touch? Jel vidiš negdje?
Peggy 18.
Nisam na toj stranici pošaljem.
Pa kucaš u Steam, Payday 3.
Morao bi da mogu, trenutno sam...
Trenutno si je Tarkov. Inače si čuo da Tarkov tada izađe 1.0.
Nisam.
A nisi, ja?
To jest. Ono
All right, guys.
Ovo.
Peggy 18.
Misliš bio je globalni reset svih akaunt, to si to kažeš.
Jučer mi se desio, čovjek drži onako opušenu pušku ka zemlji.
Da, i flikujete, da.
Puca na mene, evo. Ja gledam ko je kujac ovo, evo, ja pucam u njega, ne tekne doleći u njega.
U Tarkovu.
I diga me uke, kažem jebe ga.
I must wait.
Znači, u petisu sam bio ono, levi klik, maksimalno sam ispalio svi te smetek u njega, ništa.
What is happening here?
Ne znam kakav pancir da imao to nije više. A je?
I must wait.
Ubacio si novog bossa.
Not sure what they found out there, but Cardinal Maru ordered the High Priest to seal the way behind him.
I must wait.
Gde na onoj mapi stric?
Evo, custom.
Not ready yet.
Na customu?
Mi to pucam u to bossa. Glavom se te sve one umire. Evo ga, mnogo su tedi bossovi u ovoj igri.
Pa ti kupi armor, pierci municiju, ne znam šta ti kažem.
A koska, kako rekao ti koska?
Zašto se onda čudiš kad regularna municija ne radi?
This jewel looks like part of a key. There must be more pieces. Not ready yet. I must wait. I'm not ready yet.
Catalogue of artifacts unearthed at the dig site in Kyrgyzstan. 3 statues of Torbelos in different poses. 7 tablets etched over with old summoning incantations. 1 bas-relief on a crumbling, collapsed wall. 3 altars bearing decayed cloths. 8 ceremonial daggers in the traditional style. Torbelos, or some say Baal. How magnificent to find that worship of you has stretched back so many centuries. The discovery of these artifacts is monumental. We will keep them safe at our own temple while we continue our research.